What's up, YouTube? Hope everybody's here today, and I hope it works so I don't have to restart it. But the story of the day, I want to talk about propaganda exposed. I have the Time cover magazine right here. I also have a lot of clip ups of all sorts of stuff. I would say today, guys, you got to stay tuned for the whole thing if you can. I have multiple printouts. You know, I'm nice with the printouts. I have 3 videos to play, you guys. I have almost 10 news stories from around the world. I'll give you a quick intro while everybody's coming in. I got to talk about Pakistan because they are now shutting off SIM cards. If you don't get vaccinated, they're shutting off SIM cards, which is a phone card. If you guys know you have a SIM card in your phone, it's a pretty big story and barely anybody's covering it in the West. So I'm going to probably break that or be one of the first ones to cover it here. Second one, I want to talk about UK. They're still in some sort of lockdown, and Boris Johnson, the phony, decided to extend the lockdown for a month. Out of Canada, you have Maxine, the People's Party leader, who has been arrested for basically touring the country, trying to do speaking tours. And then I got a few more stories to talk about. I don't want to ruin everything. You get what I'm saying? I got literally 10 stories. You got a Royal Caribbean story. I got, some CDC stuff coming out that I'm probably not even supposed to say because they could say it. NBC News can say it. But when I say it, I wake up to like 3 smear articles and them getting mad that I said it. But oh, well, we got all of that stuff. It's going to be a great show. And as people are coming in, I just want to give shout outs. Let's see. Kelly Phoenix, what's going on? We got Jill, we got Nikia, we got Dan Starr, we got Wilmer, we got Lily, we got Mario, excuse me. I said Marco, but Mario, you get it. It's an easy mistake to make. Someone said Facebook link didn't work. Yeah, I heard they're doing something on my Facebook. I don't know. We got 1,000 people on the Facebook. We got about 200, 300 coming in here. RJ, what's going on? Garrett, Jay, what's up? Loris, I'm going to hop right into it pretty quickly. Am I a Mason, like a Freemason? No. Is that how I'm going to start this intro? I got the cop cars coming outside now, but not for me, but just in general. Someone's like, Anomaly, are you a Freemason? It's like, dude, we're only 30 seconds into this live stream, and you already hit me with the tough questions. But no, I'm not personally. Are you? Anyway, what's up, Melissa? What's up, Kevin? What's up, Abby? What's up, Amy? All right. Let's crack into it because I don't want to waste too much time. I know people are rolling in. There's probably going to be more and more come on YouTube, but I have like 10 stories to tell. I got 3 videos. I got a lot of different angles of stuff I want to talk about. So I just want to get into the first one. So apparently the Pulitzer Prize came out. The Pulitzer Prize is supposed to be the golden ticket of journalism. If you win a Pulitzer, you're supposed to be one of the best journalists in the world. And New York Times won a Pulitzer, of course. New York Times is just so good at what they do for their, breathtaking COVID-19 pandemic, reporting that was just so front and center. And, I think they were smearing everybody who talked about the lab leak theory as like a far right, whatever, conspiracy theory, blah, 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 blah. But apparently, you get a Pulitzer. And I remember, not to get myself in too much trouble before I even start the stream, but I remember reading an article a couple weeks ago that said that Bill Gates reportedly, according to the news, was like asking Jeffrey Epstein for a Nobel Peace Prize. So it's like, I don't know that I even want one of these prizes anymore because it seems like, it's not what it seems. Anyway, so congratulations to New York Times. Just read the Nobel Prize winners. It's a joke. So I woke up to this picture, and I mean, I know it's backwards on Facebook, but it doesn't matter. And can you see it's got Putin in the eyes? And first of all, he looks like they're trying to make him look cool, and he looks like he's dazed and confused. Like they can't even make Joe Biden not look like semi-demented. Like and it says taking on Putin. So they're like, the guy with the aviators, he's taking on Putin. It's like, okay, yeah, for sure. He's just so strong, so powerful. Here's another, Time magazine cover from the Trump era. So I don't know if a lot of people followed this, but this is Photoshop. Trump never looked at this girl. This never happened. This girl was taken out of a different photo. And even the Washington Times eventually reported after the propaganda and the fear mongering and the girl crying on the cover came forward, this girl, it was actually reported that she was never separated from her mother. So I did a whole story on this 2 years ago. Everybody's using this little girl's picture for propaganda against Trump, raising tens of millions of dollars on Facebook to, fight child separation at the border. And this little girl was never even separated from her mother. That was a whole fake story that led to tens of millions of dollars of, I would say, exploitation and fundraising, this propaganda. So if you think it's just that, I'm going to just show you a clip, and I hope people are starting to pay attention. I think my audience gets it at this point, but here's Kamala Harris, and then I have some more printouts. This is Kamala Harris talking about the border before she was in office. She's like, oh my God, how dare you separate people at the border, whatever. And now listen to her. All right, watch this. It's just so obvious.
And then what happens when they arrive at our borders? We who have erected the Statue of Liberty, they arrive at our borders and we say, go back to where you came from. That is inhumane and it is immoral.
5 minutes later.
Do not come. Do not come. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back.
So before she gets in office, she said, they're coming to our border and it's just so inhumane that we're turning them back. And now she just says, do not come, do not come. And I have some more printouts for you guys. This is, hold on. Actually, they're in my printer. I didn't even print them out. So I know you can see it on YouTube and I'll read it to you on Facebook. This is Washington Post, same paper, 2 different articles. So right here, see if you can read it on YouTube, Facebook. I get you. It's backwards. I'll read it for you. It says, our country is full. Trump's declaration carries far-right echoes that go back to the Nazi era. So when Trump says, hey, if you're a legal immigrant, you can stay. And if you're illegal, aka breaking the law, you can't come into the country. They say it's echoing that of Nazi Germany. Oh my gosh. And here's one for Kamala Harris just a few years later, just showing you the flip-flop that she did. Same exact newspaper. Do not come. Harris seeks hope at home for Guatemalans. So when Trump does it, he's a Nazi. When Kamala Harris does it, she's just seeking hope at home. Hope at home. The wordplay, it's just so obvious. It's like they Photoshop a fake picture of a girl to make Trump look terrible, and then they make Joe Biden look like, you know, a superhero fighting. I don't understand how people don't get it. I mean, I'm just going to play this clip one more time, and I got way too many videos to show, but if this 30-second clip doesn't wake up every liberal on the planet, like, listen to the flip-flop.
Happens when they arrive at our borders.
Unbelievable.
We who have erected the Statue of Liberty, they arrive at our borders and we say, go back to where you came from. That is inhumane and it is immoral.
5 minutes later.
Do not come. Do not come. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back.
Oh no, when she turns back, it's just hope. She has so much hope for them at home. When Trump turns them away, it's equivalent to something else. So I just want to say real quick before we move on, I got too many stories. Congrats to Joe Biden on the Propaganda Time magazine cover. You have joined the ranks of Joseph Stalin. Here, you can see up here real quick. That's Joseph Stalin, the communist from Russia who killed millions of people. He was the Time Magazine Person of the Year twice in 1939 and 1942. So, you know, Time Magazine has a really reputable track record of putting, you know, mass murdering communists on their cover twice. And now Joe Biden gets the propaganda cover. Just like the Nobel Prize, just like the Pulitzer Prize, I don't want to be on Time Magazine because it seems like they're living an opposite world. And, you know, that's just a clear example. It's obvious. They do it all the time. But, you know, how much more obvious could the double standards in the propaganda get? Blah, 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 blah. Let's move on. This story is huge, and I haven't seen anybody in the West break it yet. The Punjab, which is, I guess, the Punjab government is what they call them in Pakistan, is going to block SIM cards of citizens refusing COVID-19 vaccination. So the Punjab government, during a meeting led by Health Minister Dr. Yasmin Rashid on Thursday, decided to block mobile SIM cards of any individual who refuses to get vaccinated against the coronavirus in a break from claims by the National Health Service Ministry that no one would forcibly administer the inoculation. So now in Pakistan, I believe that's the first I've heard, blocking SIM cards of people who don't get COVID vaccine. And you know, this is I'm glad I'm in America, but everybody who's like, oh my God, Operation Warp Speed, it had nothing to do with the lockdowns. Anomaly, Trump just needed to rush the vaccines and that it's totally different. It's like, guys, if you don't understand yet that all this stuff goes hand in hand, you're always going to be playing second fiddle. But it's like, you think it's a coincidence that people won't get a coronavirus vaccine and now they're shutting off their SIM cards? We're very, very lucky in the United States of America that that's not happening. I'm going to tell you what's happening in the UK and in Canada. But, we're all technical now. So if the banks or Facebook or Google or the, cell providers or your cars that are mostly now digital, if at any point they decide, you can't do this unless you do this, we're facing like digital communism, kind of like Grimes, Elon Musk's girlfriend or whatever, was talking about, like AI communism. I mean, that's really what it is. If you don't get this inoculation, we're going to basically make your cell phone not work. Very, very creepy stuff, and definitely something to keep your eye out on. Don't be scared, but definitely keep your eye on that, because that's not normal. And, before I move to the next story, you just don't see very many politicians condemning that. Ted Cruz will jump on his desk and condemn Hamas 1,000 times a year, but it's like they don't seem to really care that much about more important issues. Ilhan Omar tweeted something about United States and Israel. I don't care about her Twitter. I care more about people shutting down millions of people's cell phones. That's kind of more important. But, these Republicans, they put on a good show and everyone's like, oh man, they're fighting critical race theory. It's like, hopefully, I think some of them are. But, this is the type of stuff that I feel like neither party's really addressing head on, with the exception of a few. I'm grateful to be in the U.S., where at least I thought I was free, and I'm more free than this. The U.K. was supposed to open up recently, and the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, plans to delay the lockdown until lifting until July 19th. It says that he's talking about the Delta variant that was identified in India. And, because of the Delta variant in India, he doesn't feel comfortable unlocking down his citizens or whatever. So he decided to just keep it there for now. What a nice guy. I mean, he's really concerned about the Delta variant. I've gone over India, by the way. If you want to go to, any of these COVID data, anywhere, you just Google coronavirus data, anywhere that they have the charts, hit deaths per capita or deaths by population. India, from the last time I checked, is not even top 100. So they're fear mongering over India. They hyped in on it. They zoomed in on it for a week. They didn't tell you over the course of 2 years. They didn't tell you how many billions of people are in India. So the deaths per capita is going to be skewed. They don't care. It's like, oh my God, there's a variant. And this is the type of stuff in America. I can't speak for every country, but we have to get as smart as we can when it comes to handling this stuff and demanding that our politicians do, because this is how they're going to lock down again, or try to, the variants. And like I said, if you study the flu over the last 80 years and the flu vaccine, there have always been variants. There have always been ways that have made it tricky for the vaccine to even work, because when there's so many variants, they choose a few. And if that's not the variant in the flu vaccine, then it's well documented in Scientific American that it doesn't always work well. So even though that happened for 80 years of the flu, now that there's 1 or 2 years of the COVID-19, they're going to act like that gives them justification to take your freedom away, to take your business away, to lock you inside like a slave or a prisoner, and act like you're a perpetual, second-tier citizen for not getting vaccinated. This has to be a priority for the Republican Party in America, and at least for the population. I think it's really should be bipartisan. This is like a human issue, but the left, I think, is so brainwashed that it's going to have to come from the right, unless it's coming from like Russell Brand, Naomi Wolf. These are your good liberals, maybe Tulsi Gabbard one day. But until then, I go hard on the right, because this is it, folks. In Canada, Rebel News, breaking: People's Party leader Maxime Bernier, I'm sorry, I suck with French, arrested in Manitoba. If you guys paid attention to the election, Maxime Bernier, he seemed to me like the most authentic candidate. He didn't get a lot of votes, but he seemed like he was actually not a total fraud. And it says police in Manitoba have arrested People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier during his provincial tour. Bernier was in Manitoba with a plan to host events in multiple cities, but was warned by the province's public health authorities that he would be required to quarantine for 14 days upon arriving in the province. The People's Party leader instead vowed to continue on his rallies in spite of the warning. In his video posted to Instagram, he was seen detained by a police officer, and then he was escorted away in a police vehicle. So he was going on some sort of tour, and the rules in Canada are crazy. I know they don't have the First Amendment, and they don't have the culture of freedom that America does, but this is what they're trying to take away, your right to protest, where it's like, well, now you don't have a right to protest, so we can just willfully mess up the science. Fauci says this, that, the other. We're wrong about the death rate, but when World Health Organization is wrong about the death rate, that's fine. They could be multiple percentages off. They said it was a 3.4 death rate. They were like 2 50% or more out of the way. There's no penalty for that. You just can't disagree with them. So this is like they're ushering in, and I don't say this to be edgy, and I don't say this to exaggerate. I really believe this. And if anyone has a problem with it, I'm willing to debate anybody with credentials in this type of stuff. But this is like imprisonment, human slavery of, humanity, of citizens of the country, taking away your right to speak, taking away your right to post, science that they disagree with, taking away your medical autonomy, taking away your right to opt out of medication, taking away your right to protest, taking away your right to travel. I mean, if you don't think this is equivalent to, a soft or hard imprisonment and a soft or hard, enslavement of America, they've really got to, because everybody wants to talk about slavery of the past, and it's horrible and it's terrible. And there's times that are incomparable to now. You've had genocides, you've had millions of people dead, you've had really wicked things happen. But, they tell you this stuff of the past because they don't want you to see what's happening in the present. For instance, every single basketball player is allowed to talk about Black Lives Matter. Every single person wearing it. Why are they allowed to do it? If it's such a threat to the corporations, if it's such a threat to America, if it's such a threat to the establishment and the white supremacists, why are they allowed to do it with all the major corporations? How come Amazon, McDonald's? I mean, you can't find a big corporation that isn't turning a rainbow flag. I looked at Zillow. Zillow's a rainbow now. Oh my God, I'm so glad you're gay, Zillow, because I don't know that I could use you in June if I didn't. It's like they're pandering so hard. But the point I'm trying to get to is they let them do that because they're using their anger and their fear to harp on stuff that used to happen while they're ushering in modern day slavery. So if you're a basketball player and last year you were allowed to travel, you were allowed to see women, you were allowed to do whatever you want, and this year you're not allowed to leave the bubble when they were playing in the bubble. If you talk to somebody, if you get a test, you're pulled out of the tournament, you got to sit out for 2 weeks, you can't see your family. Like, this is enslavement. This is taking away the freedom that you had last year, and they're slowly sucking it away. So the reason you're allowed to do this BLM type activism is because it's not real activism. It's the distraction and the light. While they're doing this to the whole world, to billions of people, they're taking away their freedom, their right to protest, their right to speak, and in many cases, their right to travel. So this is the modern day really push to give more power and money at the top of the pyramid, and then the rest of the people just have to follow suit. And you can see videos of Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau's over at the G whatever summit. He's with all the leaders. He's, not standing 6 feet apart. He's around 7 people. How come he can be around 7 people, but if you were to do that with your family and friends in Canada, that they'd have to arrest you? It's because this is what it is, folks. It's not a science thing. That it's like a Delta variant and this variant. What are you going to be, a second-tier citizen for the rest of your life because there's different variants of coronaviruses? It's like, come on, folks. But this is how they get people. So Canada, very, very interesting that that's happening. And once again, I'm very grateful to be in America because even California is better than Canada. It's like, I feel really bad for the people there. And, don't take your freedom for granted, because what's happening in the UK and Pakistan and Canada, just to repeat, and then I'm going to move on to the next story. In Pakistan, they're shutting off SIM cards. In the UK, they're extending the lockdown for a month. And in Canada, they've been in perpetual lockdown, and they're arresting political leaders for simply just having a rally. I mean, this is no joke, folks. And I think America, we're really the last bastion of freedom, although we're losing it. Like, that can't happen here. And this is why I go so hard at Republicans. Like, they're playing this half-ass game, I think. And I appreciate what DeSantis is doing. In some cases, I appreciate what Trump did. But for the most part, the root of this is the mass testing scheme. I've gone over it a bunch, and this was a bipartisan operation. The CARES Act was $1 trillion operation to give all this money. If you Google how many new pharma billionaires are there, I believe there's 9 new pharma billionaires, and you're going to tell me that there's no money involved with what's going on. So, it's like when you give trillions of dollars to certain people, they're only going to get more money and more power. So how are you going to stop this power struggle when you're simultaneously funding them, and then you turn to Fox News and act like you're half fighting them? I get that DeSantis is helping a lot. He's doing way more than the rest of the world, and I'm grateful for that. But the testing is the root of it. We can't just live our whole lives mass testing, using, in some cases, a PCR test in which the inventor literally said that it wasn't made to treat sickness or to diagnose sickness. That's not my words. That's the inventor, the guy who literally created the PCR test. And in some cases, they're not even testing with tests. You could get tested in multiple states, and I've done full videos on this with mainstream data, CBS News, mainstream stuff. If you have a cough and you're around someone with COVID-19 and you tell that to your doctor, they're allowed to diagnose you positive without even having a PCR test. You had the one golfer get pulled out of the tournament when he was winning, and he didn't even feel anything. And speaking of that, if you don't believe me, here's a news story that's very interesting. This is CBS News, one of my 10 stories. A Royal Caribbean, shout out Royal Caribbean. You suck. You suck, Royal Caribbean. I used to be a platinum member. You used to catch me at Casino Royale. Now I'm never using your stupid boats because you guys turned into Stalin-like commies. It's not fun to be on vacation when you're trying to put a mask on my face, force vaccinate me, and make me walk around getting tested all the time. That's not a vacation. That sounds like I got captured by like a foreign army. You losers at Royal Caribbean. Suck a milkshake, okay? We got to keep it friendly for the kids. Milkshakes are good on cruises, but I prefer a smoothie. Anyway, the story was, sorry, I got distracted. CBS News, a Royal Caribbean cruise set sail with all adults fully vaccinated. Then 2 passengers tested positive for COVID-19 anyway. Oh no, I feel so bad for Royal Caribbean. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Psych, you suck, Royal Caribbean. So they did their whole vaccine tyranny. Everyone has to get vaccinated. And I called, listen, I got the Royal Caribbean hotline on speed dial. I called up, I said, what's up, Royal Caribbean? It's your boy. And they said, hey, what's going on? And you get it. It didn't really happen like that. But I called them and they said, I have multiple free cruises. Like, I'm a platinum member. I have free cruises. I don't even want to go on them because I was like, do I have to wear a mask? And they're like, well, yeah. And sometimes I'm like, what is this? Did I get captured by the Soviet Union or am I on a vacation? Because if I'm on a vacation, I'm not putting cloth over my breathing holes. If I got captured by the Soviet Union and they're sending me to the gulags, then maybe they put a towel around my face. But it's like, this is not vacation. I'm an unhappy customer, but this is not fun. So they tried to vaccinate everybody anyway, and 2 people still tested positive. So I'm going to read it. Royal Caribbean, you suck if you're watching this. 2 passengers on board the Celebrity Millennium Cruise have tested positive for COVID-19. Cruise operator Royal Caribbean Group announced Thursday. It was the first cruise ship to set sail in the Caribbean in over a year since the pandemic began. The Miami-based cruise company said in a statement that both guests who were sharing a room on the ship tested positive while it conducted the required end of cruise testing. Both passengers are asymptomatic and currently in isolation. We are conducting contact tracing, expediting testing, and close contacting. Oh, thank God. Okay, so just making sure, guys, they're contact tracing. So now because 2 people were asymptomatic, which means they couldn't even feel anything, they're going to just contact trace who was around who. Oh, this is not dystopian at all. This is a really fun vacation. Masks, vaccines, still getting COVID, contact tracing everybody. Man, where can I sign up for this? Cruise boat. So, I don't know how they were testing. I didn't look at the exact test, but I want to repeat, I don't have the video with me, but I implore you all to look up Kary Mullis. Kary Mullis is the inventor of the PCR test. Without Kary Mullis's brain, which was, off the, no, but I'm just kidding. But without Kary Mullis's brain, there is no PCR test. This guy invented it. And I implore you to watch the videos on my channel. I have a whole breakdown of 5 things you didn't know about Kary Mullis. He specifically says with this COVID test, so how it works, the PCR test, I forget what it's called, polymerase chain reaction test. It does exponential times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2. So you could take a little part of you and just multiply. So it's 2, 4, 8, 16. You get 1 million, 2 million, 4 million, 8 million, 16 million, 32 million, 64 million, 100. It's exponential. So depending how many cycles you cycle means how far you go. And Kary Mullis basically said, if you zoom in far enough on anybody, you become a Buddhist, because that notion that everything is inside of you is actually kind of true. Because if you zoom in far enough, he's like, you can find almost anything. But what Kary Mullis said, just because you find this and you put it with it doesn't mean this. He basically was like, they were using it back in the day to try to diagnose people as sick. And Kary Mullis, the inventor, said, that's not really what it's for. He's like, it's not concrete. That's not accurate. They're trying to make a lot out of nothing when that's not really what it is. So, the question to me is like, how many cycles are they using? If people are asymptomatic or 200 people are asymptomatic, are they really sick? At what point do we just stop mass testing? So to Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, who I don't even really care, but to the Republican base, mass testing is your future. If you don't get to the bottom of this, they're going to shut you down one way or another. The cruise lines, the airlines, they're never going to be the same. We have to somehow get past this whole psychotic mass testing scheme. That's the root of how they're shutting down. The more they test, the more they find. The more cycles they do, the more they find. The test. And then they have all these crazy rules. Test. Okay, this person added this person. It's never going to end. You know, if they tested this much for common cold, and I'm not comparing this to the common cold, but there's tens of millions of cases of common cold every year. I've never been tested for it, just like I've never been tested for the flu. They just said, you have the flu. I never got tested for the flu. I got tested for strep throat. So if you test this much and somebody has something, even if they don't feel it, and then this happens, it's just all a numbers game. You get what I'm saying? There's millions of people who die in America every year. So if you're testing everyone all the time, every person who's in the hospital gets a test, you know, the numbers are going to be higher than other flus and other pneumonia type stuff just off of the testing itself. And I'm not comparing it because I know they like to fact check, but you get what I'm saying. I'm going to move on. It all roots with the testing as far as how they're using it to justify the deaths, the tests, the variants. It's like, we got to get past this because they're going to bring this back. And if it's not this, they have other ways to lock down. But, you know, what's happening in Pakistan, what's happening in the UK, and what's happening in Canada is really a sign of like what's going to happen here. I remember people used to say America is going to be like South Africa. And I was like, honestly, maybe in 30, 40 years. And then the lockdown happened. So it's like a lot of these things that other countries are facing, whether it's racial problems or medical problems or lockdown, commie, socialist problems, you know, America's usually just like 20 years or 10 years behind. Unfortunately, at this point, that just seems what it is. So I hope people are paying attention. I would love to see, just before we move on, people are saying, what do we do? What do we do? I'm not trying to scare people, but I want to see the Republican base start challenging their people, because it really is these people that are doing something. And I think if they're incentivized to do more, that's a good thing. And I think Ron DeSantis, like I've been saying, he went from here to here because he did more than anybody else about the lockdowns. He might not have done as much as people would have wanted, but he's doing more than most other Republicans. So that's a good sign. Make sure you point to him and say, we like that he does this. If you don't do this, we're not going to like you. You know, give these politicians incentive, and don't just like clap for Trump if he's not doing anything. You get what I'm saying? Make sure the Republican Party knows that's how you become popular. Do the right thing. So interesting that that's happening. Even though they vaccinated everybody on Royal Caribbean, there's 2 people who tested positive, because if you test thousands of people all the time, you know, you're going to find cases. It's like so ridiculous what they're doing. And before I really move on, I'm sorry, I'm filibustering, but I've been on multiple cruises. Every cruise I've ever been on, there's been an emergency. Okay. One time, because you got to remember, when you're on a cruise, there's thousands of people who are over 80 years old. Most people are going to be fine, but it's just a numbers game. It's like a retirement home on the ocean. You know what I'm saying? You get enough people that are older, something's going to happen to somebody. It sucks, but that's just life. So I've had one cruise where they had to fly a helicopter and land on the cruise boat to airlift somebody out. I've had one cruise that we had to rush back because somebody was hurt or something happened and they wanted to rush them to a hospital. So most cruises I've ever been on, something happened. There was no news story about it because it's status quo. When you have old people on a cruise boat, someone's going to eventually get hurt sometime, or they're just going to get old. But now with COVID and now with the testing, they're going to act like this stuff is brand new. And I did this with a UK paper. Every year before COVID, they said hospitals are full, hospitals are full, hospitals are full, hospitals are full. They're going to act like it's brand new, but they've been doing this for 10 years. So now with the cruise lines, they're forever screwed unless we get over this mass testing, forced vaccination thing. Because every year they've always had somewhat problems, but now they're going to act like they're brand new, and people are going to believe it because of the COVID thing. On that note, I want to read 2 headlines from NBC. I told you I have 10 stories. I'm not lying. It says evidence grows stronger for COVID vaccine linked to heart issue, the CDC says, NBC News reported. And this one is very sad. And we've been talking about this for a while. And it's really, really sad that nobody seems to care in politics. But youth suicide attempts soared during the pandemic, the CDC report said. So the CDC is finally coming around and saying, oh, youth suicide is way up. And it's like, yeah, you can't just lock people in their houses. I don't want to be a broken record, but you know, not being able to go to the gym, not being able to work out, not being able to see your family as much. This is something that is deadly. It's deadly for teens. It's deadly for elderly people. They need to move. They need to exercise. If you stop their schedule, you're killing them. They killed more people than they ever saved. And this is a narrative that wins. It's not like, oh, I locked down for 6 months. I only printed trillions of dollars. My name's Tim Scott. And when we print money, it's bipartisan. These politicians are all actors and they're all liars. Which one of them is saying lockdowns kill? They don't save. You didn't help. You didn't save lives with Operation Warp Speed, Trump. You didn't do a dance and save more people than the Spanish flu. You locked the country down for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whoever it was, governors here, and it kills. It hurts. Suicides are up, I'm sure. Drug abuse is up. And to be quite frank, the elderly don't need to be quarantined either. I know that's like, just quarantine the elderly and leave everybody else. Don't quarantine the elderly. The elderly are not prisoners either. They need to communicate. They need to exercise. They need to have societies and communities. That's what keeps elderly people alive, being alive. If you just sit them there and scare them, their bones are going to get more frail. So it's like now the CDC is finally reporting on it, and it's just sad that they let this happen for so long. But this is the big story of the week, and I don't know if I'm even allowed to read it, but I will. NBC News says evidence grows stronger for COVID vaccine linked to heart issues, the CDC said. The condition called myocarditis. It sounds like a Greek, food. Myocarditis is usually mild, but a handful of patients remain hospitalized. Over 226 cases of myocarditis I can't read this stuff, after vaccination in people younger than 30 have been confirmed. It said that normally fewer than 100 cases would be expected for this age group. Teenagers and people in their early 20s accounted for more than half of the myocarditis cases reported by the CDC safety monitoring systems, despite representing a fraction of the COVID vaccination. And I have a video real quick because they're going to act like this is brand new. You're not allowed to talk about side effects. You're not allowed to talk about injury. They won't let you do it. They will censor you on Facebook. They will censor you on Twitter. They will censor you on Instagram. They will try to ruin your life in the press. If you dare talk about the side effects of vaccines, your life is screwed. NBC can do it a year later, but you can't do it before they do it. You have to wait until something bad happens, and then they'll finally report it when the CDC does. You're not allowed to do it. But here's what I've been trying to tell people for a while. And this is not something I created. This is something I learned by listening to others, by listening to people who are now banned on Instagram, who educated me on this stuff, because I didn't always know this either. And I'm going to play a clip of Bill Gates real quick in a second. The big scandal with all this stuff and vaccines, not just the COVID vaccine, but others, is not the fact that everybody gets hurt by them or they're so bad or there's a microchip in them. I'm not saying any of these things. I'm not making up some sort of conspiracy theory. I'm looking at the legislation, the PrEP Act, the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, and the vaccine industry for a long time has a sweetheart deal. They don't have liabilities for injury and side effects. So sometime in the 80s, I believe it was the late 80s or early 90s, they passed that. And since then, the vaccine schedule has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. And I think there's incentive, not just because they want to get cures to people, but it's a cash cow. I mean, there's been 9 new billionaires, I believe the number is 9, in the vaccine industry. You think people don't have financial incentive? Like, oh my God, that's a conspiracy theory. No, people make money. And, Coca-Cola sells Coca-Cola. McDonald's sells McDonald's. Vaccine companies sell vaccines. Like, that's just what they do. At a certain point, they're trying to make money. They're trying to get more people to eat it, more people to buy it. And it's not a hard thing to do anymore because they don't have any liability for the side effects or injuries. So while Facebook and Google and YouTube and the media tells you can't say that there's any side effects, they know that there's side effects. They protect themselves from the side effects. They talk about the side effects on television, and then they turn around because all these people are working together and they cut your page off if you dare suggest what they obviously know and protected themselves from. So I want to play this clip of Bill Gates because as they're talking about, I'm going to read this again because this is not me saying this. This is the CDC and NBC News. Evidence is growing that COVID vaccine linked to heart issue in young kids, talking about heart inflammation that's been reported at higher numbers than they expected. This is Bill Gates before the vaccines got emergency use authorized, pretty much saying that it's hard to make a one-size-fits-all vaccine because you want to boost it up for the elderly, but then it might be too strong for the younger kids. And basically he said the vaccine manufacturers need to get indemnification, which means compensation for harm or loss, protect themselves, because they knew that this was going to happen. And I'm not saying Bill Gates knew that this exact thing was going to happen, but you're damn right. They know when you vaccinate so many people, from elderly to young people, and you act like it's a one size fits all, it's going to hurt some people. This is This is not me saying this. This is Bill Gates saying this on CNBC about a year ago. And I have a clip of it here. Take a listen.
Doing that so that you amp it up so it works in older people, and yet you don't have side effects. If we have, 1 in 10,000 side effects, that's, way more, 700,000, people who will suffer from that. So really understanding the safety at gigantic scale across all age ranges, pregnant, male, female, undernourished, existing comorbidities, it's very, very hard. And that actual decision of, okay, let's go and give this vaccine to the entire world, governments will have to be involved because there will be some risk and indemnification needed before that can be decided on.
So I'm going to run that back real quick, but I'm going to explain what he said. So he said, listen, it's a tough thing to get a vaccine that works in elderly and strong enough, but doesn't hurt the younger kids, because obviously if you're old or young, I guess the amount or the threshold is different. I mean, your body's different, your immune system's different. So he said, it's going to be tricky. And he admitted, say it's this percent who gets hurt, that's like 700,000 people. And what did he say? Did he say it doesn't happen? Did he say there's no such thing as side effects? No, Bill Gates said, so since that might happen, we need indemnification. If you Google the word indemnification, it means compensation for harm or loss. They have the PrEP Act, which is indemnification. There's not that much compensation, but guess what? There's good news. Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, they're immune from liability. So it doesn't really matter how many people have whatever, whatever it is, heart inflammation. Well, guess who will never have to pay financially for that? Pfizer and Moderna, because they're already protected. So, they did some sort of indemnification through the PrEP Act, but Bill Gates is admitting, yeah, I mean, if we give it to the whole world and this percentage of it doesn't work and it hurts them, at least we need to protect ourselves and, pay people out for that. Cause obviously that's going to happen. Come on, guys.
So that you amp it up so it works in older people, and yet you don't have side effects. If we have, 1 in 10,000 side effects, that's, way more, 700,000, people who will suffer from that. So really understanding the safety at gigantic scale across all age ranges, pregnant, male, female, undernourished, existing comorbidities, it's very, very hard. And that actual decision of, okay, let's go and give this vaccine to the entire world, governments will have to be involved because there will be some risk and indemnification needed before that can be decided on.
And he said governments need to be involved. Don't you worry, governments are involved. In fact, they're so involved, if you Google Axios, NIH, Moderna, you'll find out that the NIH, the National Institute of Health, actually owns joint ownership over the Moderna patent. Isn't that nice? Governments are so involved, they own one of the vaccines, part ownership. Man, that's so nice of them. So I'm sure there's no financial incentive there. So, he admitted they kind of knew this was going to happen. The difference is the news won't tell you it's going to happen because, if you watch Fox News or CNN, I wonder who some of the biggest sponsors are. I do see a lot of pharmacy commercials on there. I wonder if that comes into play. Probably not. I'm just being conspiratorial. Anyway, so the point is not that everybody's going to get hurt or it's all bad. The point is, do you know any medication or really anything? Even I always use almonds and nuts because almonds are good, but some people have nut allergies. Every commercial you see has side effects. You might get this, you might get this. If you're pregnant, don't take it. If you had a vaccine within 2 months, don't take it. This is what they're saying on television. They have all the side effects listed because even though it's rare, they know that it'll eventually happen and they want to protect themselves from liability. And if they tell you that it happens, you can't sue them. The vaccine industry doesn't have to tell you anything ever. Does it mean nothing happens? No, they know it happens. They protected themselves from it. It's like a pill and you see a commercial and there's no side effects. It's like, why is there no side effects for that pill? Well, somehow they struck a deal where they don't have liability for anything that happens to you. That doesn't really happen with most pills, but it does with the vaccines. They struck a sweetheart deal with the government, and now the government owns some of the patents. This is some of the most rife with corruption stuff. It doesn't mean everyone's going to get hurt. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they know if you vaccinate billions of people, it's not a one size fits all. There are going to be some people who have bad effects. It's already happening. It's being reported. The CDC is admitting it. They just don't care. They're going to keep sweeping it under the rug as much as possible until they can't anymore. So to move on to, I think with, this is a bipartisan thing. It's not just Democrats. It's not just Fauci. In fact, Trump wants credit for it. Trump is trying to lobby the world to say, I did it. I rushed the mRNA jabs. I'm the one. It's not Fauci. It's not the FDA. It's me. I did it. So it's like, this is why he's fallen out of my favor. It's not just that, but it's like, does he not care about, any of this stuff? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about it. Candace talks about it. To me, it just seems a little selfish. He just wants credit. And there's millions of people at West Point, in the military, in health, in school, children going to college, people trying to work. My friend, I know multiple people who are, if you don't get vaccinated, you can't work here. They're going to fight for themselves because they're not going to be bullied. But it's like the leader who's supposed to be the free leader of the world is so busy bragging about bringing all this here. He doesn't seem to be spending any energy talking about this stuff. He's not talking about Pakistan having their phone shut down because of SIM cards, or UK or Canada. It's like me, I did it. And when it's all said and done, I think Operation Warp Speed and his involvement in this rife corruption with big pharma and government is one of the most disgusting things Trump ever did. And I think it's the downfall of his entire legacy. And he wants it to be his number one thing. And I think it's just not a good thing. I'm not anti-vaxxer, anti-farm. These words mean nothing to me. I'm none of the sorts. I'm just saying why I think it's messed up. They're not making it optional. They emergency use authorized it, didn't FDA approve it, and they're trying to act like it's a one-size-fits-all approach. Everybody must have it, despite the fact that they're then under their same, breath of their mouth saying that 700,000 people of this percentage gets it, so we better protect ourselves. And they did protect themselves. They know that there are side effects, but they won't let you talk about them. They protect themselves in court from them. And then they use their media lackeys and their big tech lackeys to smear anybody who says the obvious of what even they know is happening. So, it's hard for me to respect someone who brought this tyranny here, who was in on all of this stuff, and then who says nothing about it. Let me see. Little Merrill, thank you for the super chat. I'm not quite sure what you meant by the super chat, but I appreciate it. I'm going to move on to the next story real quick, but yeah, we'll see what happens with all of this, but this has to be a number one issue, I think, for conservatives moving forward. If they don't get the medical stuff, you're going to be a step behind, because this is all going to come out, I think, eventually. I think it's too big. I really do. If you give this much people this much stuff, like, it always blows up afterwards. But if you check some of the stuff, whether it's Johnson & Johnson, whether it's Pfizer, whether it's Bayer, all these companies, it's like they do something, they make a crap load of money, they make billions of dollars, and then they get caught, and then they just pay a fine, and the fine is usually less than what they did. Have you ever watched the movie Big Short? It's about the financial system, all these bankers and people who basically scammed America. In The Big Short, it's based on a true story. At the end, not to ruin the movie, but it happened in real life. I'm sorry. Nobody paid for it. It's like they did some of the most dastardly, devious, twisted, costly, wicked things in modern history, and nobody paid for it. So I think that's why they continue to do this stuff, is because they know eventually if they do get caught or they do get called out, the fine that they pay in order to, indemnify what they did is usually less than what they made. So that's the story there. My last story is off a different tangent, but I think it's an interesting angle. So if you guys know Charlie Kirk, he's the founder of Turning Point USA. He's a young guy. He's done a lot. He definitely gets a lot of people registered and hyped up on college campuses. On one hand, I think he's done a lot of good work to spread, the Republican, whatever, to conservative campuses. On another hand, I feel like his brand of conservatism, I'm going to talk about it because it's actually what I'm writing my book about. He plays into this trap of the communists. He plays into the trap of the left. And to be quite frank, has nothing to do with Charlie. I'm just tired of this, like, everybody calling each other racist. It really doesn't help. So I'm just going to read his tweet today and tell you why I think it's hypocritical and wrong, and why it's important moving forward here for the Republicans. And I have a video too. Charlie said today, if you care about skin color, you are a racist. So that was his tweet. You know, if you care about skin color, you are a racist. So there's something that, you know, I think the left overdoes the race thing where they're just like, white people are evil and everybody else is a victim except for Asian lives matter. You know, they overdo race and they lie about it so much. So then the left says, you know, there's no such thing as race. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't care about it at all. And I don't agree with that for multiple reasons. So I know this might seem wrong, but, you know, if you're Irish and you're black, okay, your race does matter. I'm not saying like you have to be obsessed with yourself, but the Irishman can't go in the sun as much as the African dark man. That's just basic, you know, health. So to tell everybody that they're exactly the same, although it sounds like this communist, we're all holding hands and we're all exactly equal, I think you should love people for who they are. You shouldn't judge the content of somebody's character based on how other people act. However, this idea that skin color doesn't matter at all is just totally a lie, and it's a dangerous lie. So for, you know, I have 5 examples for why this is like a stupid right-wing talking point to try to counter the left. But, you know, you should understand your skin and who you are and your heritage and your ethnicity, because there's a lot of things that come with it. The obvious one is skin. You should care about your skin color, because if you're black and you're super albino, you're not going to be able to have the same skin regimen and the sun regimen, because you're going to kill yourself if you think you're black and you go in the sun and you're like, oh, I don't care about my race at all. I mean, it doesn't even matter. It's like, it actually does. You should probably put on some organic sunscreen or stay out of the sun, or you're going to kill yourself with skin cancer, and vice versa. If you're black, you know, I think even during the pandemic, they're saying all these black people are getting hurt in New York City. You know, you ever think about it's winter in New York City and you're not getting the sunlight, you're not getting vitamin D, you know, you're stuck inside, and the liberals took away your right to gym and parks and stuff. Like, maybe that had a part to play with it. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but I think there's so much push on the left to say, you know, your race means that you have to wear a Black Lives Matter shirt, and the right will say, well, race doesn't even matter at all. There's not an honest conversation about race where it's like, yeah, of course you shouldn't hate somebody because they're white or hate someone because they're black simply based. But this idea that you shouldn't care about your skin color at all, that's just totally anti-science and anti-health. You need to understand your skin, even for products. If you're a certain ethnicity, you have a certain type of hair, you have a certain type of skin, sunlight, skin products. I mean, these things might vary based on your ethnicity and genetics, and it might be beneficial or harmful to you based on that. Another reason that I have a problem with this tweet, although it sounds nice, it's like a liberal saying coexist, you know, all religions. It's like, for sure, yeah, I love everybody. But, you know, Charlie Kirk is also like a front man for a lot of things. He helped Candace Owens organize things like the Black Leadership Summit with Donald Trump. He's involved in all sorts of black, you know, pandering Republican sort of things. So if race doesn't matter to Charlie Kirk and skin color doesn't matter, why does his, you know, Republican lackeys, why are they constantly organizing based on race? Because he doesn't actually believe that. He just says it because it thinks makes him sound not racist. Let's call the left racist. You're a racist if you care about skin color. Now I'm going to go to the Black Summit with Candace Owens. I'm going to go to the black this and the black that and the black. It's like, okay, then stop doing that. But the Republicans can't stop being hypocrites. They're like, man, the left is segregating, you know, graduation. So we're going to have the Hispanic coalition and the black. It's like they do the same exact thing and act like they don't. Also, I want to play this clip real quick, because this was crazy to me, where I'm like, okay, so race doesn't matter. Culture doesn't matter to Charlie Kirk. The sea to shining sea. If you've ever heard that song, From Sea to Shining Sea. To me, America is the people, it's the culture, it's the land. That's what America is to me. I love America. It's the flag, it's the people, it's the culture, it's the language. All of these things make America great. But to Charlie Kirk, he thinks you don't matter, the land doesn't matter. He's just like, that's not what America's about. It's just an idea. He's like, even if we had no land, it's like, bro, America is the land also. So I don't think he actually knows or believes anything that he says. And I'm just going to play this clip real quick and tell me what you guys think about it. Hold on.
I reject this idea of dual loyalty. I have loyalty to ideas. And of course, I love the Grand Canyon. I love the Rocky Mountains. And I love Boston. I love Chicago. But if all that disappeared and all I had was ideas and we were on an island, that's America. That's Israel. And that's what people have to realize, that America's just a placeholder for timeless ideas. And if you fall too in love with, you know, the specific place and all this, that's not what it is. Israel will be an exception because there is a holy connection to this land. I reject
All right,
this
someone on Facebook said, I think this is an ill taste and I'm disappointed in you. I think you think this is an ill taste, but if you give me a few minutes, I think you should listen to what I'm saying, because the right wing is actually leading you towards communism. So to you, this is hate speech. You're offended. You don't want to hear it. To me, it's offensive that people like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Donald Trump are leading the right wing towards communism, and you don't even realize it because you don't understand what they're doing. So give me a few minutes before you think what I'm saying is ill. So what Charlie was saying was he was at some sort of Israeli, Jewish sort of like a thing. And he said, I reject the term dual loyalty, which is also a speech law. DeSantis, Trump, they're all trying to pass and say it's an anti-Semitic trope to suggest anybody Jewish has dual loyalty. Because, yeah, that sounds really honest. But he says, I reject that. There's no such thing as dual loyalty, but America is just an idea. It's not the people. It's not the land. It's just a placeholder for ideas, except for Israel. So do you notice what he's saying? He's saying, race doesn't matter. Skin color doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for America. Your land doesn't matter. Your people don't matter. Your ethnicity doesn't matter. But for Israel, that's a different story. I mean, their land matters. It's biblical. The people matter. Their ethnicity matters. Netanyahu once said that Israel is the land of the Jews. He said anyone can come, but it's the Jews' land. It's our land. Okay, I have no problem with that. If Netanyahu wants to flex like that, whatever. But did anybody condemn him? Did Charlie Kirk condemn him? Did Trump? Of course not, because it's fine when Israel does it. They have an ethno-state for their ethnicity, their religion. They're specifically saying it's ours. That's fine. But when it comes to your ethnicity, Charlie Kirk all of a sudden thinks that race doesn't matter. But then at the same time, he'll have a black, summit. So if race doesn't matter, why are you doing that? If race doesn't matter, how come Charlie doesn't live in an all-black neighborhood? He doesn't even see race. I don't think he would want to live there. But I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, in general, I think race, you should treat everybody nicely based on who they are. Someone said bye, you could leave, but this is, I'm not trying to get rude, but America's being conquered, and the Republican base and the Christian base is being conquered by an ideology that literally hates them, that hates their Messiah. Do you know that when Charlie Kirk says these words and throws these things at you, he's aligning himself with a culture that literally thinks your Messiah, your Christ, is boiling in hot excrement for eternity? That's in the Talmud. You guys don't even know what the Talmud is because you don't pay attention. So goodbye. But Christians are being just completely destroyed because the Republicans, like Charlie Kirk, are Zionists, and they believe in Israel. They believe that Israel has a right to protect his land, but America doesn't matter. It's just the ideas. They believe that Israel has a right to ethnicity, but in America, it doesn't matter. They believe that it's racist if you notice skin color, but they notice skin color because they constantly organize with Black and Jewish groups for the Republican Party for their racial interests. But if you do so, you're a white supremacist, according to Charlie Kirk. So they don't care about race until they care about race. They believe in free speech, but they pass speech laws for Israel because they want to. Do you know why? Because they don't care about America. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the First Amendment. I just played you a clip where he doesn't even care about the land of America. He doesn't care about the people of America. And these are the people you guys look up to thinking they're going to save your country. Guys, you're being conquered for a reason. And when it's all said and done, these people are leading you to communism too, because this idea that race is just nothing. Okay, should you hate somebody because they're Black or white? Of course not. Judge every individual by who they are. I think that's a great way to live. Me, on my personal basis, do I care who you are? But am I going to tell the Irishman and the Black man, your skin doesn't matter at all? I mean, not in the sense of it should hold you back, but as far as understanding your skin color, your limitations because of health things and sunlight things and skincare things, versus also your culture, your heritage, your ethnicity, it actually does matter. If I go to Hawaii, I love Hawaii, but Hawaiians realize that on the Big Island, if 60, 70, 80% of the island turns into a white island, their culture is going to be gone. The hula competitions aren't going to exist. People start building telescopes on mountains and desecrating their land. And it's totally okay for Hawaiians to say, you know what, we love all people. We don't hate you because of your skin color, but we want Hawaii to be Hawaiian. We want our culture to last. We don't want to be conquered. If you go in a lot of parts of California, a lot of things are named after Hispanic things because America used to be Mexico. I think at one point we bought it or conquered it. I'm not quite sure exactly based on location, but it's like reverse now. It's like now America's had it for 300 years. Our culture's been here, and now it's being watered down, weeded out, destroyed on both sides. And it's this idea that they push that says, oh, it doesn't matter at all. So it's like in Paris, it's like, yeah, race doesn't matter at all. It's like, okay, well, when you go to Paris in 50 years, it's not going to be Paris then. How come in South Korea and Japan, they love everybody? You can come over, be black, be white. They love you. Japanese people are so nice to black and white people. It's not even funny. But when it comes to refugees and stuff, they're very sensitive. They don't want their demographic being shifted drastically over time because they want Japan to be Japanese. Are they racist? No, they're not racist. Do they care about their skin color? Of course they do. Does that make them racist according to Charlie Kirk or racist according to the left? No, it just means that they want Japan to be Japanese. Anyone else is welcome, but they don't want to lose their culture, their ethnicity, their heritage. And this is a communist ideology that Charlie's pushing, that it doesn't matter at all. So if you don't have an ethnicity, if you don't have a culture, if you don't have a heritage, are you not entitled to the food that you like, the food that your parents were cooking, the culture, the dance music, the parties that you had? Is that not okay so Poland can't do that, and UK can't do that, and France can't do that? No, that's a lie that the left and the right and the Zionist right is pushing to America, that your culture doesn't matter. And if you think I'm being too rude, listen to them. How come he thinks that the land is important and the people are important, which I actually agree with him. I think Israel, if I was a Jew and I lived in Israel, I think I'd have every right to defend my culture, my land. And I don't think I should have to just say, oh, my race doesn't matter. Of course they think their race matters. They wouldn't be over in the Middle East if they didn't think their race mattered. But this is what the Zionists do. They feed you this half-baked conservatism. They put you into trillions of dollars of loans and lockdowns. They say nothing about it. And then they say, you don't matter. Your skin color doesn't matter. Your culture doesn't matter. Your ethnicity doesn't matter. Your land doesn't matter. But this other country over there, all that matters. Why are they more loyal to a foreign country than they are their own country? Huh?
I reject this idea of dual loyalty. I have loyalty to ideas. And of course, I love the Grand Canyon. I love the Rocky Mountains. And I love Boston. I love Chicago. But if all that disappeared and all I had was ideas, and we were on an island.
So real quick, he's such a pompous little douchebag, but I love the Rocky Mountains, but if all that disappeared, I'd be fine with it. Really? I wouldn't, Charlie Kirk. I actually like this country. I'm sorry. I'm not a Zionist, scumbag, just total. Oh, I reject this idea of dual loyalty. And then I'm going to talk for 40 seconds about how I not just have dual loyalty, I have complete loyalty to a foreign country and zero loyalty to America. Of course, you reject the term. That's why they're passing speech laws to say you can't say it, because it's real. I wouldn't say he has dual loyalty. I would say he has more loyalty to a foreign country than his own. How could you stand up at a conference to say, I don't even care about the Grand Canyon? I just went to the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon is America. That's the land. If we don't have the land, we don't have a country. Isn't that why we're building a wall? Why are we building a wall? Because the land, that's the border. That's Mexico. That's America. That's the wall. And that shows you that's yours. That's ours. You could come over legally, but we're going to put a wall because this is the land and the land. It's a communist idea to say, oh, the land doesn't even matter at all. There is no Mexico and there is no America. Well, then you're not going to have an America if that's your ideology. It's a communist lie that there's no such thing as borders. Well, let the World Health Organization, let the WHO come in. They'll run your country because there is no borders. We're all one. Now the World Health Organization, the United Nations, we're going to tell you what to do, America. There's no border. How are we supposed to win the culture war when you have Zionist Republicans on stage saying, I love the Grand Canyon, but if that disappeared, I'd be totally fine with it. Bro, do you guys get what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be rude, but you're going to communism because both sides are leading you there.
I reject this idea of dual loyalty. I have loyalty to ideas. And of course, I love the Grand Canyon. I love the Rocky Mountains. And I love Boston. I love Chicago. But if all that disappeared and all I had was ideas and we were on an island, that's America. That's Israel. And that's what people have to realize, that America's just a placeholder for timeless ideas. And if you fall too in love with, the specific place and all this, that's not what it is. Israel will be the exception because there is a holy connection to this land.
America's not the land, the people, the culture, none of that, man. I mean, it's just a placeholder for ideas. I mean, don't get too attached to the land. Don't get too attached to the Grand Canyon. Just, move to an island somewhere with your ideas, and that's America. And same with Israel, except not Israel, because I just realized I'm at a conference with all people who don't want me to say that. So, I mean, you guys could have your ethnicity. You guys can have your land. It's really important for you, but not for us. Do you not get it? Do people not get the whole gist yet? Oh, anomaly. This is ill-advised. I'm really disappointed. People are disappointed because the top 3 people in the Republican Party are misleading people. I don't need to be saying this, but when the top 2 biggest powerhouses in the Republican media, Ben Shapiro, who believes in mandatory vaccinations, well, technically, I don't think the government should go into your house, but if your kids can't go to school without a vaccine, I mean, that's fine, because I think that the government should incentivize people to get vaccines. Ben Shapiro supports mandatory vaccinations. Charlie Kirk says your culture, your ethnicity, your race, your ideas, I mean, your land, the Grand Canyon, sea to shining sea, none of that matters. Take your idea to an island, because that's all that matters, your ideas. Same with Israel, just not Israel. Never mind, just America. Do you get why you're not conserving anything anymore? And then Ben Shapiro says, oh, well, no, I mean, if your kid doesn't want a vaccine, I mean, I think it's totally fine for them to be banned from, school. And because what's he conserving? What's Charlie conserving? Someone said he caught himself at the last second and said it, except for Israel. Guys, this is what Zionists do. And this is why I talk about Zionism. And until Republicans figure out what Zionists are doing, you're always going to be shocked that communism is being ushered in from both parties. It's because they don't care about America. Charlie Kirk doesn't care about America. Ben Shapiro doesn't care about America. That's why they try to pass speech bills to prevent people from saying that they don't care about America. Did you hear the first thing he said before he said he doesn't even care about the people or the land of America? Listen.
I reject this idea of dual loyalty.
He said, I reject this idea of dual loyalty. You should go to the anti-Semitism laws on the United States website. They define that as a hate speech law. Ron DeSantis passed that into law. Donald Trump passed that into executive order. All the Republicans are so desperate to take this false definition of anti-Semitism and push through hate speech legislation. Why? Because they love people so much and they hate. No, it's because they have very little loyalty to the United States of America and the people here. So they're trying to pass laws to prevent you from saying that they happen. Because if you can't talk about it, it becomes a lot easier to do it. Okay? And this is the blind spot of the right wing. And I'm going to do a whole video on it. I know it's confusing. I know it's very hard to get, but it's a very sneaky thing that they're doing, and I have to talk about it because I don't believe them. And I saw this tweet and I was like, you know what? I got to finish my book. I'm very close because I write exactly about this. The words racist, the words sexist, the words anti-Semitism, the words anti-vaxxer, conspiracy. It's not just the left who does this. It's like this little game that they both play. And I personally believe that America is amazing and everybody is awesome. Every culture is awesome. But if you take away people's culture, you don't have anything. If you take away America's culture, it's not America anymore. If you take away the culture of Chinatown, it's not Chinatown anymore. If you take away the culture of Koreatown, it's not Koreatown anymore. If you take away the culture of Japan, it's not Japan anymore. If you take away, the people of China, it's not going to be China anymore. So this idea that it doesn't matter at all is really, it sounds good on a bumper sticker, but I think it's just as stupid as saying, you're a terrible person because of your race, where I think that the truth is in the middle, where you should love people based on the content of your character. You should judge people based on the content of their character. But as far as understanding different cultures, different ethnicities, different health regimens, different skin routines, different, thresholds for sunlight, I think is key to understand who you are, who your family is. And when they take that away, I think it's a sneakier way of doing what the left is doing. Separate your family. Once you take away your family, you don't have a mom, you don't have a dad. Who raises you? The television and the government. Now you're raised by the media. Now you're raised by the government. They'll teach you what to think because you don't have your own culture, your own family. And that's what the left does. Now the right's trying to tell you it doesn't matter at all. Should you cling on to it like it's the greatest thing? But no, how many Italians do you know that love being Italian? How many Germans do you know that go to Oktoberfest and they love being German? How many Koreans do you know that cook Korean food because that's what their family cooked? Does that make them a racist for caring about their ethnicity? Of course not. That's just who they are, and if you take that away from them, if you take away your culture, you're stuck with Charlie Kirk on an island. You don't have the Grand Canyons, you don't have California, you don't have Texas. You're stuck on an island with ideas with Charlie Kirk because that's what he thinks it is. It's like it's a sneaky communist way to make people believe that none of that stuff matters, where I think it does. I think that, your heritage does matter. And as soon as they can subvert and really poo-poo on everybody's culture, everybody's ethnicity, it's just a one world thing where it's like everybody's the same, everybody's equal. There's no difference whatsoever. It's like that. To me, that sounds like, okay, I get to treat people properly. I think that's a different story, but it just really irks me when it's like, if you care about skin color, you are a racist. Okay, then why do you do a black summit? Why not have a multiracial summit? So it's like the Republicans, they're against identity politics, yet they do identity politics to fight the identity politics of the left. It's all a big show. I'm going to read this. Someone said, Ben Shapiro's con artist. Hope you saw what Mark Dice did on him. Yeah, Mark Dice did a great video on him. I'm going to do a big video with all this stuff I'm saying because I know it's very confusing, but I'm just going to drop little gems. Someone said, go try and tell you something, break a hand, be honest and say you're pro. Someone said, be honest and say you're pro-Muslims and you hate the Jews. Well, Hydro P, that's not true. So this is a straw man argument. So you're saying, be honest, you love the Muslims and you hate the Jews. So first of all, me personally, I have respect for everybody. I don't hate Muslims. I don't hate Jews. I don't judge in that way, but that's just a straw man argument. So in my country, I'll give you an example, and I'll get to the super chats later. Hydro P. So in America, if there was a Muslim billionaire, okay, I'm just giving you a hypothetical, Hydro. Tell me how you would feel. There's a Muslim billionaire, okay, and he gives $200 million, $100 million to the Republican Party. And then Ron DeSantis patches the speech bill that says you can't criticize Muslims in Saudi Arabia. And then Trump passes an executive order, and side by side, there's two Muslims on both his sides, and he passes an executive order, and he says you can't criticize or protest Saudi Arabia on a college campus. And then Ben Shapiro comes on his Twitter and says, it's anti-Islamophobia if you suggest any Muslim in America has dual loyalty to Saudi Arabia. And then Charlie Kirk goes on television and says, America's just about ideas. It's not about the land. It's not about the people. It's just ideas. And same with Saudi Arabia. No, except Saudi Arabia, it is about the culture and it is about the people, just not America. How would you feel? Would I call you an Islamophobe? Would I say you hate Muslims? No, I would say you're a smart American who realizes something very devious is going on. So that's what I'm doing, except just like I don't like when, Islamic, wicked people are subverting my culture. I don't like when it's coming from Israel or Zionist Christian Republicans who aren't even Jewish, like Charlie Kirk. So it's not hateful. I have zero hate in my heart for Israel. I have zero hate in my heart for Jews. I just know that the biggest donor on the right wing is Sheldon Adelson. He loves Israel. He gets Trump and DeSantis to pass speech laws to say that you're not allowed to say it's happening. Ben Shapiro's in on it. He defends BlackRock as they're buying up all our property. Yes, says it's anti-Semitism to suggest anybody on the planet has loyalty. Has nothing to do with hate for anybody. I love Jewish people, but that's what's happening. But people can't process, oh, you must love the Muslims. Listen, I'm not Muslim. I'm not Jewish. I don't have a problem with any of them, but I live in America. I actually care about my country. I'm not going to stand on stage at a foreign conference or a lobbyist conference and shit on my own country in front of a bunch of people. Like that's not happening. So no, that's a straw man argument to try to, get around what I'm trying to say. It has nothing to do with hating people. It's the perversion of our country, our culture, and the perversion of conservatism to serve a totally different interest that's ruining America. Steven said, if you don't think the U.S. hasn't been infiltrated from inside the home through the top of the government and all in and out, you're out of your mind. You could point things out for a living or actually do something about it. Well, God bless you, Steven. Thank you for the super chat. I'll read more. Someone said, how could someone not get what you're saying? Well, I'm not sure. I'm going to do a whole video on it soon, but I'm going to really, really break it down because I have all these videos and stuff, and it's what they're doing. I don't care that people don't hear it. I don't care. People can call, this is not new. People can say it's hateful when I have no hate in my heart. People can say it's racist when I have no hate in my heart. People can make up all these words to try to debunk what I'm saying, but it's going to happen whether you believe it or not. So it's like, if you're following a team and they're leading you to communism, you're going to figure it out eventually. And I'll tell you what, folks, it's not a conspiracy theory. So there's no bigger victim card on the planet in America the two biggest victim cards you will ever find, maybe I'll say three because the victim cards are growing. You have the LGBTs play such a victim. You can't criticize the LGBTs or they'll cry victim. You can't criticize Black culture or they'll criticize you. And you can't criticize anybody Jewish. These are the three biggest victim cards. And the Republican Party understands the LGBT one. The Republican Party understands the Black one. But the Republican Party are the culprits of the Jewish one. Not only do they not understand it, but they feed and fuel into it because they're so snowflakey about it. So the point I'm getting to is it's not about hate. It's just like they're using that angle to make it impossible to talk about anything. So it doesn't make you a hateful person, when you identify where the money's coming from, what they're doing, why they're doing it. And to be quite frank, to give you another example, Hydra, I'll read that in a second. If you look at Islam, okay, no one's ever accused me of being Islamophobic on the right wing. I have Muslim friends, but there's different sects of Islam. People understand it. Maybe not everybody. There's Shiite, there's Sunni, there's, Wahhabist, radical Islam, okay? So there's different types of Islam. There's LGBT Islam, who to me, that's not even really Islam. So if I break down different types of Islam, no one's going to call me an Islamophobe. I could have a Muslim guy on here and he wouldn't even call me an Islamophobe because I'm not disrespectful. But with Jewish, you guys don't understand anything. You just cry anti-Semitism, 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 anti-Semitism. You don't know anything. You don't know what the Talmud is. You don't know what the Torah is. You don't know what the Zohar is. You don't know that there's a lot of ethnically Jewish people that are atheists and not even religious and spiritual. You don't even know that there's Orthodox. You don't understand Judaism and the Jewish race at all. You just cry victim so much and cry, oh my God, I don't want to hear it. And I'm not even talking to Jewish people. I'm talking like Christians who think that their entire job is like to cry about Jewish people all the time. It's like, you don't understand any angle of it. So you wouldn't even know, I know what's in the Quran, not everything, but you don't even know it's in certain texts. So when you talk about communism, you probably don't even know that there's certain ideologies of Judaism that they want communism. Oh my God, that's so it's not anti-Semitic. Talk to somebody who's honest in the right sect, in the right, in the right zone, because there's different people who believe different things. It doesn't come from nowhere. It's an ideology that they believe will happen in the end times when Mashiach comes, okay? So it's not like you guys cry so much about how sensitive you don't want to hear it. That's why the right doesn't understand anything. So it's like, you think there's not good and bad people in every race, religion, and gender? You would never do this for Muslim. You go harder on the Christian church. I mean, would you cry victim when a Black Lives Matter church does something stupid? Would you protect them? Of course not. You'd be like, no, I don't agree with that. There's nothing wrong with being honest about things. Hydro said, please tell me when Trump took away your First Amendment and don't be misconstrued what he said and what you thought he said. Well, I'm telling you, I'll break it down in a full thing of why I think it happened. But in general, if you're not a Zionist, you're probably not making it in politics. Okay, there's very few people who don't pledge allegiance to Israel. And if you don't, you're not going to go very far. Okay, so when Trump got in, he started talking about Sheldon Adelson, who's the biggest GOP donor, and he called Marco Rubio a puppet. He said Marco Rubio is going to be Sheldon Adelson's perfect little puppet. And then as soon as Trump got in, Sheldon Adelson donated tens or hundreds of millions of dollars to the Trump's GOP. Trump gave his wife a Presidential Medal of Freedom. No, God bless his wife, but I think maybe the money had something to do with it. Maybe not. Maybe that's just spontaneous. But when you donate that much money, more than George Soros does to the left, to right-wing causes, you're going to get something out of it. So if you watch and you listen to Sheldon Adelson, it's not that hard to figure out what one of his passions is. One of his passions is Israel. He loves it. He said he fought in the American army. He wished he would have fought in the Israeli army. But Ben Shapiro says you can't say dual loyalty. That's anti-Semitic. So I won't say that. But if you listen to the guy talk, it's very clear he loves Israel. And he's an Israeli citizen as well. So anyway, Trump passed an executive order to basically quash protests on college campus against Israel. It's called BDS protests, boycotts, divestments, sanctions. I'm not an Israeli boycotter. I'm not a Palestinian activist. I'm sorry to my Palestinian brothers and sisters. That's just not me. And God bless my Israeli brothers and sisters. But I don't defend it because I'm out here protesting and not buying Israeli goods. I'm just saying the First Amendment doesn't say you have the right to protest and speak freely, except if you're boycotting Israel on a college campus. That's anti-First Amendment legislation that Trump passed through an executive order, and that's what he did. And he had Dershowitz on one side and Kushner on the other side. Could you imagine if Joe Biden did that with two Iranian people? Could you imagine if Trump were to pass an anti, you can't criticize Saudi Arabia bill with 2 Muslims on both his sides, you guys would be freaking out and screaming at the top of your lungs. But when that happens, then they infringe on the First Amendment with your best friends and your greatest allies. Nobody cares. So can I link it? Just Google Trump executive order anti-Semitism. Ron DeSantis also passed. I'm going to do a whole video on this, and no one's going to watch it because they don't want to hear it. Ron DeSantis passed an anti-Semitism school bill through Florida, and he flew over to Israel to pass it. Imagine if he flew over to Saudi Arabia and passed a bill quashing the free speech against Muslims in a school. That's what Ron DeSantis did, but with Israel, and nobody sheds an eye because our country's attached at the hip, so it's just status quo. Why does it annoy me? Does it mean I hate everybody and I'm Muslim? No, I'm a Christian. I'm not a Muslim, but I don't do it because I hate somebody. I love the First Amendment. So I don't like the fact that I read the bill. He says it's a religious bill. So he passed this bill in a school under the definition of, oh, it's just a religious protection bill. Okay, well, read the bill. Do you know what's weird about it for a religious protection bill? It protects people of a certain ethnicity that aren't even religious. And it says that specifically, not just for a foreign country, Israel, not just for religious Jews, but it also protects non-religious Jews. So it's not a religion bill, it's an ethnic bill, and it's a foreign country bill. Okay, so it's a religion bill. That's cool. It protects Christians, right? Because Ron DeSantis is a Christian. Oh, no, it doesn't protect Christians. Ron DeSantis passed a religion bill for a foreign country, an ethnic group, non-religious people, didn't include Muslims, didn't include Christians, didn't include Sikhs. He didn't include any other religion. So it's not a religion bill. It's an anti-free speech bill that's targeted towards stopping you from talking about just one group of people. And then in the bill, it's like, you can't suggest people have any power. It's like, wow, what a way to show that nobody has any power by passing a bill that says you can't speak about them. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're really fooling me. So yeah, these things happen, but nobody wants to talk about it because that's the Republican right wing. Charlie Kirk is a Zionist. Ben Shapiro is a Zionist. PragerU is a Zionist. So is Trump and DeSantis. And I have friends that are, and I'm not like knocking it. If you love Israel, you want to go fight for the Israeli army, there's nothing wrong with that. But my point is, for some reason, the Zionist party, the Republican Party, they don't care about the First Amendment. So that makes me think, are they America first, Israel second? Well, no, because they don't really protect any. They're Israel first, America second. You will always play the second fiddle. You will always have your speech taken away. You will always be called a name. You get what I'm saying? Charlie Kirk will go on stage and say, it's not about you. It's not about your culture. It's not about your ethnicity. It's not about your heritage. It's not about your land. It's not about the Grand Canyon. Don't get attached to any of that because we might put you on an island with ideas. And it's the same with Israel, but just not Israel because the culture and the land actually matters there, just not here. Why is Charlie Kirk saying that if he's such a America First nationalist? Because he's not an America First nationalist. He's a Zionist. He serves Israel. He serves a different group of people. And then America comes second. And that means giving up your First Amendment. That means giving up your free speech. That means you're not allowed to say that they're doing that, or else they'll call you an anti-Semite. That's what the Zionists do. That's what they do in the Republican Party. They give you half-baked truths. They sell you out down the river, and everybody holds up a MAGA flag, and they don't realize that it's happening. So I don't hate anybody. I don't hate any country. I love my country, and I know that this is a path to communism. If you say their ethnicity matters, but your ethnicity doesn't matter, they can do whatever they want, but you can't do whatever they want. They could say whatever they want, but you could say what. Every other race can talk about race, but you just can't talk about their race, but they could talk about your race. Well, this is not an even playing field anymore. I don't use the word racist anymore. I've come to the conclusion that anytime you use it, there's a better way to talk about what you're talking about. If you hate an entire group of people, okay, you got some issues, but if you notice that there's certain crime statistics in certain neighborhoods, does that make you a racist? Charlie Kirk says that race doesn't matter. If race doesn't matter and skin color doesn't matter to him, why won't he move to a black neighborhood? I would love to see him move to a 90% black neighborhood. I wonder if he would care. I don't think he wants to. I think he just wants to tweet that he doesn't care. For Israel, it doesn't matter. For you, it doesn't matter. But then he'll have a black summit. Well, why is it a racially segregated summit if race doesn't matter? Because race does matter to Charlie Kirk. If it's a black summit that can give him political fame and leverage, then he'll do a black summit. If it's an Israeli, conference where he can get some money and, some favor with the Zionist buddies, then race matters. But when it comes to your country, all of a sudden race doesn't matter anymore. So I would just like some consistency. Does it matter? Does it not matter? I don't think these people really care. No safe spaces, but we'll create our own safe space. Prager would never talk about it. They all love that stuff because they're all Zionists. Prager will make the 20,000 videos about Israel, and it's like, Israel, Israel. We get it. You like it. And then under the same breath, these people will be like, if you suggest we have dual loyalty, that's anti-Semitism. Bro, you have dual loyalty. It's obvious. It's not a trope. It's like anybody who watches you realizes you love America and you love Israel. There's nothing wrong with that. Just stop trying to pass speech laws and cry victim about it. It's like, just fess up to it. If I love Poland, I'm not going to pass speech laws to say, you can't say I like Poland. I like Poland. I like kibasi. I like pierogies. Okay. Get over it. But I don't like Poland that much where I like them more than America. I like America so much that I don't need a speech law in my favor to stop you from talking about it. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Is like, it's until people realize, and I'll tell you what, and I'm down to have a debate about it where there's certain people in every political, social, religious, they're doing their own thing. So if you can't even have a conversation about it, you're going to get played. Like, I would never in America, I love my Muslim brothers and sisters, but I'm not in a Muslim country. So I don't want Sharia law in America. I want the Constitution in America. But right now, we don't really have that. But the point I'm getting to is I would love to be able to freely talk about, different sects of Islam and work through conversations around it in America, in a Christian nation. And that doesn't make me hateful. It's just I want to be able to do that. So how come I could do that with every other thing except for one group of people? How come I can't have that conversation? How come people get freaked out all the time? How come, it's like, it's not fair and it's not helpful. So that's the point. I'm going to read some stuff. Let's see. I want to see any pushback because I'll have let me see. I think you're taking that as a country anti-Semitic protest. They can't protest against Eskimos. Well, here's the thing also, like, okay, if a bunch of people are on college campus protesting Israel, even though it's not my thing, like, what if Israel's doing more than other countries? Like, they're like, if you hate Israel because it's all Jews and you're an anti-Semite. It's like, what if Israel's rolling out a vaccine passport? I'm doing a hypothetical that's not that far off from reality. Say they become the world leader in vaccine passport, and Israel says, we're going to roll out a worldwide vaccine passport, so everybody has to check in under our technology. Would you be allowed to protest Israel at a college campus? Not because you hate Jews, but because you're against the vaccine passport. You actually would have trouble because Trump passed an executive order stopping you. You get what I'm saying? And that's what Prager and Shapiro and Kirk, they always lie about. The only way you could ever disagree with Israel is if you hate all Jews because they're a Jewish nation. It's like, that's the biggest lie. That's like saying if you hate Japan, you hate all Japanese people. If you hate China, if you disagree with China, you're anti-Chinese. That's what the left does to China. Oh my God, what are you, anti-Chinese? It's like, no, China's a superpower and not everybody has to agree with what their government does. Israel's the same thing. Yes, it's the only Jewish homeland, just like China's the only Chinese homeland. But it doesn't mean if you disagree with what their government's doing or certain, influential billionaires are doing, it doesn't mean you hate everybody. That's the fake lie that the Zionists like Kirk, Prager, Shapiro, and even Trump and Don Jr., all these people, they all lie about it. It's like their job. That's what they do. The Zionists give you just what you want to hear. And right when it's time to actually do something for the country, they're always passing anti-First Amendment speech bills because they don't want you to go the full distance. So, there's nothing hateful about having the right to protest. And if you don't have the right to protest this country, then you don't have this country. I'm not trying to end up like Canada. I don't want to end up like the UK. They lost their First Amendment and now they're in lockdown. They're in perpetual lockdown. And I'll just tell you, there's also a connection. Who rolled out Operation Warp Speed? Donald Trump. Who's the most vaccine crazy out of the entire world? And who's working on the passports? Israel. Which big influencer supports the vaccinations and mandatory? Ben Shapiro. Isn't that just weird? But God forbid you push back on it at all, then you might be called a certain word. Does it mean everybody's in on it? No, of course not. This is the straw man that they say. It's like, oh my God, if you don't want Ilhan Omar, you're an Islamophobe. It's like, it's these words mean nothing to me. I'm so desensitized from even the backlash because I've heard every word under the sun. Like, if you called me a sexist, I would probably laugh. Someone said I'm rambling. I'm making a lot of sense. You could feel to push back, but like, what makes you a sexist? If a man can't have a baby, you're a sexist. Okay, it's like I'm so desensitized. It doesn't even hurt my feelings anymore. When people say these words, I'm like, that's funny. That's really dumb. Someone said it's a 3 hour later here on the East Coast. Could you please take it down a notch? No. Hydro, say follow the jealousy. Well, Hydro, I mean, can you listen? I'll give you a debate. Anybody could disagree with what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong, but don't just give me a jab. You're rambling, you're jealous. Tell me why you disagree with what I'm saying. I get you said, what law did Trump pass that was anti-First Amendment? I told you. You said, I'll look it up, and you shut up about it. I told you I disagree. I'm not jealous. I don't want to be anybody else. I don't need money. I don't need attention. I care about my country. And I'm telling you, these people don't. They prioritize something else before the Constitution, and Christians, to be quite honest. And it's going to be the demise of America. And Republicans are so attached to that narrative, especially Christians from a biblical perspective, that they can't see that they latched on to a group of people that, to be quite frank, don't care about them that much. You know, it's like if you're allies with UK, you have to understand that, yeah, you're the allies with the UK, but the UK cares about the UK more than it cares about you. You could be allies with China, but China cares about China. You could be allies with Mexico, but Mexico cares about Mexico. You can be allies with Saudi Arabia. You think Saudi Arabia cares about America? Probably not. They care about Saudi Arabia. Do you think Israel cares about America more than Israel? Duh, of course not. They care about Israel more. And that's why they have so many dual citizens in America passing speech laws to stop you from saying that, because they want to act like they're not doing it when they're doing it. So when it's all said and done, Christians and conservatives and Republicans are going to be sucked dry, and you're going to have nothing to show for it, because this is what, and this guy's a Christian, by the way, this is what the Zionists think. Don't get attached to your land, because it's not going to be there forever. When America gets destroyed, go take it to an island somewhere. It's fine. It's not about the culture. It's not about the people. It's not about the land. That's not what America's about. Just slowly lose, because you can't talk about this. Go ahead.
I reject this idea of dual loyalty. I have loyalty to ideas. And of course, I love the Grand Canyon. I love the Rocky Mountains. And I love Boston. I love Chicago. But if all that disappeared and all I had was ideas and we were on an island, that's America. That's Israel. And that's what people have to.
At one point in American history, if you just basically said you would be totally fine with America being conquered, like they would consider you a certain word. I'm not going to say it, but it's like, how hard some of our ancestors fought to get to this country at one point, to keep this country. People fought in wars for this country. They weren't fighting for an island of ideas. They were fighting for the Grand Canyon. They were fighting for California. They were fighting for Texas. They were fighting for the people here. They were fighting for their children. They weren't fighting for Charlie Kirk Zionist ideas that America doesn't matter and that you shouldn't get attached to the land because we could just go to an island. Hey, we're going to go to an island because this is what the Republican Party is. They don't actually care about anything. That would be considered a highly blasphemous response in the early 1900s. If anybody were to say that, left or right, people would look at that person and be like, dude, you're out of your mind. It absolutely is about the land here. If we don't have the land, we don't have a country. That's why we're building a border wall, because the border wall shows this is our country, that's your country until further notice. That's the whole point of the border wall. So how is the top Republican nationalist going to say it doesn't matter? The Grand Canyon doesn't matter. Our country doesn't matter. The people don't matter. It's the ideas that matter, and you should be fine if these ideas are on an island. How are we going to fit 300 million people on an island? You're not. It's the same with like the Bill Gates types where they're like, you will own nothing and be happy. And it's like the World Economic Forum. You'll own nothing and be happy. We're doing this and doing this. And you think to yourself, you're like, how is all the world's people going to, and they're like, they're like, oh, you think all the world's people are going to be here? That's cute. It's like, all these ideas he's saying, it's like we couldn't fit on an island. He's like, yeah, that's the point. Like, you're not going to be there. Someone said, how did the Grand Canyon get us into all this? I just wanted to show you into the minds of these people where I'm not doing it. This guy will accuse me of being jealous. If the two biggest Republican commentators in the country, one doesn't care about the people and the land, the other one is pro-forced vaccination or mandatory vaccination, or you are barred from society. Do you not see what's happening? We're turning into Canada. And this is how they do it, folks. If you look at Canada, they didn't realize that they didn't have a two-party system until they were locked down. And now Canada's screwed because the left wing is like full-blown commie and the right wing is non-existent. Doug Ford is a total phony. Everybody voted for Doug Ford because they thought he was going to be this Trump-like savior figure, and he ended up being a total commie as well. So you think what I'm saying is so mean until you turn out like Canada and the UK, and you wish you would have done something about about it, or you wish you would actually paid attention and held these people more accountable instead of cheering on your own demise, because that's where America's heading. We're just 5-10 years behind Canada and the UK. And I'm not trying to scare people, but it's like we're somewhat free right now. We're not going to be in 5 years if we're being led by Zionist Charlie Kirk, who doesn't care about the country, Zionist Ben Shapiro, who thinks that forced vaccinations, or mandatory vaccinations rather, are fine if you can't be barred from society, Donald Trump, who's doing Operation Warp Speed, Ron DeSantis, who's passing speech laws to prevent you from saying certain things in schools. Like, it's not too late. It's not too far. All I'm asking people is to start making what they're doing unpopular. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to be mean to them, but stop cheering them on like they're saving your world, because they're leading you towards communism. And I know that this is going to be edgy, but I've actually studied certain things. So there's a reason that Zionism is leading you to communism. It's because the people that are leading them actually want communism. This is like an ideology. It's not everybody, but, at the end times for the Islam, Muslims believe in a certain, end times goal. Christians have a certain end times goal. The world is wicked. The Antichrist comes and Jesus returns. I'm simplifying it, but you get what I'm saying. Christians have a certain idea of the end times. So do different sects of Judaism. But people are so obsessed with just worshiping Israel from a biblical perspective, they don't even know who they're following or what they believe in. Like Ben Shapiro, it's like, what does he believe? He'll never tell you. Why would he tell you what he believes in? You probably wouldn't like him if he told you. So it's like, communism is also part of certain scripture. Okay, there's a certain group of people who think in the end times a certain person's going to come where Christians think it's going to be the Antichrist and that's going to take you to heaven. Another ethnicity thinks it's going to be Mashiach and it's going to, the whole world's going to be at peace when there's world communism. You think I'm joking, or being mean? That's just the truth. It's just nobody knows because they don't dive deep enough. And that's not to say that everybody thinks that, but it's like, there's a reason that this is all happening. It's not like, oh my God, Trump got fooled by his advisors. He didn't get fooled. He listened to the people that they all listen to, and they told him to do what they all do. Someone says, stop hitting your table. Okay, I will. All right, I'm down to take some questions and comments. Someone said, do I think the establishment Republicans were not leading us towards a one world order? No, I'm saying I think that they are. I mean, I think 2020 kind of proved that. But in some ways, it's nuanced. It's nuanced in some ways because the American people, our culture, like, I'm just asking people to just hold their ground a little bit and ask them these tough questions. So, to give you an example, like, okay, let's look at the left. The left wing interviews Joe Biden, right? And they give him a softball questions. Joe Biden, what kind of ice cream do you like? Joe Biden, what flavor is your ice cream? So the left wing never asks tough questions to Joe Biden. It's not just the left wing. Go to the right wing. How many people have asked Trump? I know at least 5 people who've interviewed Trump since his presidency. Has anybody asked him a single question about his role in the lockdown or the emergency order or the CARES Act, or when he told Thomas Massey to get kicked out of the Republican Party, or the anti-Semitism speech bills, or, the 6th event, which was just poor leadership, or, the fact that he keeps emailing everybody all the time and hasn't really, no one asks these tough questions. So I'm just saying, like, that's the fault of both parties, is like, even on the right, people just idolize these people when really people should be doing real journalism. Like, if, Dan Bongino, no offense, talks to freaking Trump, it's like, does it sound like Dan Bongino's questioning him, or does it sound like Dan Bongino's a dog with his tongue drooling out his mouth, like obsessed with Trump? He didn't ask him any tough questions. No one does. No one ever asks Trump any questions. So Trump and all these, they don't feel the need to have to consider what they're doing. So once the base holds their ground a little bit, and listen, I'm not trying to be negative about it, because people are learning. I know a lot of people get upset, but the more you explain it and the more people see it, the more people learn, and it's growing and it's growing. And like I said, whether it's now, a year, 2 years, this conversation needs to be had because it's not going away. So if you think you're leading towards freedom and you start spiraling towards communism, one day that discussion that seems crazy to have is not going to be crazy anymore. So, I don't feel bad about saying it because I know that it's not going away. It's like I see what these people are doing. I see who they serve and who they worship. And there's a reason that everything's happening. There's a reason that Ben Shapiro defends BlackRock buying up America. There's a reason that Ben Shapiro goes around college campuses and says, I defend free speech. And then under his other mouth, he says, well, actually, I think it's hate speech if you talk about my ethnicity in this country and I don't have any loyalty to them. You can't say I do. It's like he's lying. It's not hate speech to say that he's lying. He's just lying. Why? How are you going to conserve anything in this country if you didn't do any reporting on the lockdowns? You get what I'm saying? Someone said you lost a lot of followers. They don't see it. I don't really care. Some people do, some people don't. I've gone backwards. I had 1.5 million, over 1.5 million, and now I have 1.49. Who cares? Okay, I lost a couple thousand people, but if 1,000 people get it, that's fine. That's all I care about, because it's gonna happen anyway. It doesn't matter how mad they get. They're gonna realize that they're following the wrong people and the wrong ideology and a culture that is the antithesis of Christian conservative culture. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can only follow the wrong leader for so long until you're lost. And then, when you don't get the results you're going to get, and it's not like a new thing. Like, when I said certain things in 2020, Q people got so mad at me. They're like, you don't understand. Trump's going to save the world. Now what are they doing? Hallucinating what are they going to do that forever? Eventually you're going to run out of hallucinations and life is going to smack you in the face like it did with the lockdowns. And it's going to be like, okay, well, I can't ignore that. Or you can ignore it and you just make up stuff. Sorry, I'm hitting the table. I apologize. All right. Feel free, anybody that disagrees or anybody that wants to say anything, feel free, because I want to read some comments or some disagreements. Someone said, do you feel packing the courts with conservative judges and putting focus to local leadership was advantageous? First Amendment will have to be addressed now. Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I still think that the Republicans are better in every facet at this point, but this is what I'm trying to say is like, I think the Republicans are better, but it's our job. I think they'll do what enough people tell them to do. You know what I'm saying? If there is no Trump rally, Trump has no power. His power comes from his base. So if his base pushes back, he'll change. He's a populist, so I think, I think conservative judges help. I think, as sneaky as Mitch McConnell is, and as fake as he is, like, he's a politician. You're not getting anything crazy from Mitch McConnell, but he does get some judges in there. That will help you. I mean, go to a liberal judge and go to a conservative judge. You'll probably tell the difference in some cases. I mean, some of the Supreme Court judges don't seem to do anything, but there's going to be slight differences. And I'm not trying to act like I want so much, but eventually, you're going to slide to the left. So I think I'm not negative about it. I think it's already happening. I think conservatives are finally like learning how, like the pendulum is swinging. A lot has happened in the last 4 years. And I'm telling you, I was live on Instagram and I had some guy named Nino America on Instagram. And he's I'm going to say American because he's Mexican, but I'm American. So I was like, damn right. But, I've talked to him through the Hispanic conservatives or the Latino exit, and he's really cool. But he was telling me, at first, you were really annoying me with what you're saying about Trump. He was like, it was really pissing me off. And he was like, but then I listened to what you said and I heard what you said and I got it. And he said, and then I started saying some honest things and people started pushing back against me, calling me this, calling me that. So it's it will all come full circle. And it's not just me. There's other people out there, but slowly but surely people are learning, asking questions. And the people that are lying eventually will run out of room, and they'll have to adapt. And even Charlie, he's adapted his stances over the last 2 years. He was calling Fuentes, a white supremacist, and he's racist. And now Charlie Kirk totally reversed his whole immigration policy. In 2 years, he's calling everybody racist and anti-Semitic. He got a lot of pushback, and then he switched his policies. That's why I think, regardless of what people think about them, the America First kids in the Fuentes crowd, they're kind of showing people, whether you like what they're saying or not, how to be politically effective. Kind of like Black Lives Matter. I don't like Black Lives Matter. They're raising a crap load of money. They're influencing the culture and they're getting the left to move further left. I don't like Black Lives Matter, but they're showing that's a very effective brand. You get what I'm saying? Fuentes is very effective on the right because everyone's calling him racist. Everyone's calling him anti-Semite. They're bringing up old cliques. But what he did was he went to Charlie Kirk events. He called Charlie Kirk out, or his supporters called him out. Charlie called him a racist, a homophobe, an anti-Semite. And then Charlie got so much backlash for being wrong, he eventually switched his stance. He won't give them credit. He's probably afraid of them, but that's effective conservatism, not caving, and actually holding these people, the Shapiros and the Kirks, accountable to the point where they have to flip. And a lot of these people, they go where the money is. They go what's popular. They're so one year they're saying this, one year they're saying that. It's not your job and our job as a citizen. If you like what they say, you could say, damn right. Just like on my stream, if you agree with what I'm saying, you could be like, I like that. If you disagree, you don't have to agree with me just because I'm saying it. I want you to disagree and ask a question. Like now, I want people to push back. Don't just say you're stupid, whatever, because that doesn't make discussion. Explain why you think I'm wrong. But that's the future. So I think the Fuentes crowd really shows that, regardless of what people think of them, how to stand your ground, not compromise, push back against the Kirks and the Shapiros and get results. Because Charlie went from saying that's racist to literally doing exactly that like a year later. So I think that's pretty big. The Uncle Greg show said 2 parties, 1 tyranny. The conservatives might be worse than the libs because they're too worried about being labeled bigots or whatever. Libs define the agenda, need a radical right position. Agree. Well, I do agree that what you're saying is like the liberals run the show. Like, I said this last time, but I think conservatives, they're not, the left doesn't really care about them because the left makes up the narrative. They say what they want. And conservatives are always playing in their world. So I kind of agree with you that, I don't know if I would call it radical right, or people make different names, but someone said, do I agree with the Biden administration? No, not at all. But I think like with COVID, for example, make your own narrative. You know what I'm saying? Or at least do something like the left does this. Trump does Operation Warp Speed. The left locks down for a year. The right locks down for 3 months. The left can't do this. The right, it's like, what about, lockdowns kill. They all suck. You're all lying. The testing thing is a complete fraud. Like that's a winning narrative. So it's like Democrats are huge losers. Republicans are loser light, but Democrats win. Even when Republicans win, they've, even in the last year, they've pushed Republicans so far right on stuff like freedom and medical tyranny that even the best Republican states are still operating maybe 75%, 80%. And I'm not talking about capacity. I'm just talking about cruise lines, airlines. It's not the same as it used to be. So, that I agree with you that's why I like the Fuentes people more than Charlie Kirk, because he actually understands like political theory, where it's like Charlie Kirk is just leading us to communism with a goofy face. And it's like, it's not going to work. It's like, I think the other kids are like, no, that's, during the lockdowns, where did the good reporting come from? These people have millions of dollars. Where was their reporting on the testing? And they didn't really do anything, So I think the other kids really understand better. Like, okay, this is how we actually achieve something. Someone said, you just lost me. It's fine. You'll come back sometime. Someone said, showing my lady friend your stream for the first time. Can you give her a shout out and put a good word for me? Her name is Stephanie. God bless. Stephanie, thanks for watching. Listen, I don't know much about Brett Smith, but he sounds like a good guy. Brett Smith, he doesn't sound like a bad guy. So if you're watching this, Stephanie, God bless you. Hopefully you guys hit it off. Maybe you could catch a movie. Maybe you're more the outdoors type. Maybe you just want to go fishing or something. Maybe you don't want to fish at all. That's not a good date. It's hard to really make out when you're fishing. And I'm not saying you should make out, because I don't know if you guys even like each other like that. But you get what I'm saying. Brett Smith, good guy. Stephanie, maybe you guys hit it off. Maybe it doesn't work out, but this has to be better than Tinder. So good luck. Let me see. Someone said, I'm going to say this, wearing cloth masks is like trying to stop a mosquito with a chain link fence. And here, I'm glad you brought that up, because here's another tweet that was bothering me yesterday. Dan Crenshaw tweeted, here's the science. If you're vaccinated, take a mask off. What does it mean to be conservative if the left can screw up the country for a year and Dan Crenshaw comes on Twitter and says, if you're vaccinated, you could take off your mask? Bro, I didn't get the jab and I'm not wearing a mask. It's like, you get what I'm saying? Am I jealous of Dan Crenshaw? No, I don't hate Dan Crenshaw. I'm not jealous of him. I'm tired of Republicans who lose for a year and then their big statement, they're not saying lockdowns kill. They're not saying that, most of the hospitalizations were obesity and this whole thing was ridiculous. They're like, now if you're vaccinated, take off your mask. That's the Kirk, Shapiro, Crenshaw brand of conservatism. It's just enough for people to feel like they're doing something. But to me, they're communists too. They're like communist light. It's like, to me, that's what? I can only take my mask off if I got vaccinated. How is Dan Crenshaw not just following that agenda? It's like they push our country 50 steps to the left, and then they like walk back 2 steps and they're like, well, if you come here, you could take your mask off. It's like, mask off. I've had it off. Okay. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. But that, I don't say it because I hate these people. I'm listening to this stuff. I'm like, what are they doing? I don't get it, but whatever. All right. I'll read some stuff. Someone said you could have made more of an impact saying, I've heard people on the right say this, not going after people individually by naming them repeatedly. Came off aggressive and trying to cut immaturely. Well, here's the thing, Ashley. I could just pretend like you don't know who I'm talking about, but then I just kind of sound passive aggressive. Like there's a certain right winger. It's like, just say the name. People always say that with Nick Fuentes all the time. They're like, there's this right winger who's a xenophobe. And it's like, just say his name. We know who you're talking about. You're just afraid to say his name. How am I going to play a clip of Charlie Kirk if I can't tell you it's Charlie Kirk? I'm not beating around the bush. Oh, I'll tell you, Charlie Kirk is a Zionist who prioritizes a different country over America and doesn't even care about the land. Ben Shapiro doesn't, supports mandatory vaccination. Not this random right winger. I can't think of his name. No, Ben Shapiro, one of the biggest conservatives on the planet, is fine with, being barred from public spaces if you haven't gotten vaccinated. Dan Crenshaw tweeted that if you were vaccinated, you could take your mask off. That's the science. I'm specifically calling them out by name because that's who said it. What are we going to play? A game of Guess Who or something? Guess who said this? He wears a hat. He sits in a chair sometimes. He's got an eye patch. It's like we don't got to play games here. It's like, I'm not being mean. It's not immature. It's just you probably love them. You probably like them so much that you thought they were saving America and they're really leading you towards communism. I'm sorry. I don't want to live in the UK. No offense. I don't care about your feelings right now because people in the UK are locked down. People in Canada are locked down. And if you keep following these people just because they have an eye patch saying, and no, I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, oh my God, he must be saving America. It's like, dude, he said you have to wear a mask. Like, or now you could take your mask off if you're vaccinated. That's the science. It's like, that's loser communist talk. I'm saying his name specifically because it's loser communist talk. And if enough people push back against the loser communist talk, they'll stop doing it. I'm not going to be like passive aggressive and act like I don't know who I'm talking about. I know exactly who I'm talking about. And it's a lot more than them, but I don't, it's like you would rather not want to hear this and make them feel bad. That to me sounds liberal. Like, don't say their names, just say it broadly. What if I told you Pakistan is shutting off people's cell phones and their SIM cards? What if I told you the UK was still in lockdown? What if I told you they're arresting political leaders in Canada for doing a rally? Doesn't that matter more that the world has slid so far left and so far communist that they're shutting off people's cell phones who get forced vaccinated while your favorite politician is selling vaccines? Donald Trump, the Trump pump mRNA vaccine salesman, doing the bidding of Moderna and Pfizer, not saying anything about liability, not saying anything about the side effects, just selling vaccines. You'd rather defend your thoughts that you don't want me to say their names directly than the fact that this is happening. But I'm not here for a rodeo. I'm not here to be offensive. I'm not here to hurt people's feelings. I'm not here to sound aggressive. I don't want to be a slave. And we are so gosh darn close to being slaves. Like, if you live in Canada now, you're a prisoner of the state. If you live in Pakistan now, you're a prisoner of the state and you might have to flee or else you're going to be forced vaccinated. This is like a sci-fi movie. I'm not doing that. So I'm not trying to be mean, but if you can't crack through your idol worship of these people, you're going to communism. There is no, oh my God, Dan Crenshaw saving me. No, he's not. They're not going to unless you demand it. So I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be hateful. I'm just saying, I'm saying their names because I want you to know who I'm talking about. And when they say stuff like this, I want people to, if you disagree with them, because I don't want you to be mean and hateful to them, but everybody worships them. I want you to like what I'm saying. If I'm not saying the right thing, you can say something about it. You should say something about it. If you vote for me for my freedom aspects and I pass a bill that infringes on the First Amendment, I don't want you to like me so much that you don't say anything. I want you to say something, because there's big money interest, there's big government interest, and there's also the people. But the game the politicians play is they love that you love them so much and you don't say anything. You expect that they have it all under figured out. No, if they take away your First Amendment, they're the problem. If they're a year after lockdowns telling you that if you're vaccinated, you can take off your mask, they're the problem. If they're playing this half-baked socialism printing game where they're selling vaccines, they're the problem. People think, oh no, they're just doing what they can. Yeah, they're doing what they can to please the pharmacy lobbyists. And they sit in their meeting and they look at you and say, these Republicans love you so much, they'll never push back. So you're part of the business equation. So your leverage is not money. You don't have that much power. I don't have that much power. What we have is us as a unit. So that's what I'm saying. The unit needs to demand more, not defend these people, not say, well, you should have just acted anonymous. Why? Is what I'm saying true? Who cares? If I say it's this person or I say it's this person, is it true? If it's true, then that's the scoop. That's the big scoop, is it is true and they're leading us to communism. And we have 1 to 4 years to stop these people from leading us to communism, or else we're going to be in communism. And then I'm not even going to have a cell phone. So it's like my emergency radar is going off when they shut down people's SIM cards in Pakistan. If they shut down my SIM card because I didn't get a vaccine, I don't have a live stream anymore. So it doesn't matter what I would or wouldn't say, because I wouldn't be able to say it anymore. So while I can say it, while I live in the greatest, perhaps the greatest country to ever exist, the United States of America, where my First Amendment still semi-works and our culture and our country is still so good that we're not Canada and we're not the UK and we're not Pakistan, I'm going to use my God-given and my Constitution-given right to tell you as directly as possible, as many times or at least as effectively as I can, because it's not going to be me. It's not going to be 10 people. It's going to be 1 million people who accept it and do something about it. Then we'll get it done. I need some water. I'm going to stay. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm parched. Someone said the PCR test, don't we use that thing for multiple things? I'm confused. Yeah. The PCR test, I can't say if it's a molecule or exactly what it zooms in on, but it could see everything. So it could zoom in on, I don't know if I got to look it up. Maybe let me actually Google it real quick, because I understand it, but I get confused with like science terms sometimes. Let me see. PCR test. So PCR test is a chain reaction method widely used to rapidly make millions to billions of copies of a specific DNA sample, allowing scientists to take a very small sample of DNA and amplify it to a large enough to study in detail. So it takes your DNA and it zooms in and it's exponential. So it's like Kerry Mullis, I'm reading his book. He figured out a way to make it exponential times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So it goes 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and then eventually gets to millions and billions. And you're zooming into DNA billions of times or millions of times. So yeah, it could be used for anything. But one thing that Kerry Mullis said it's not used for, here, I'll play the clip of it. If people haven't seen, I have a whole video. Kerry Mullis specifically said what it's not used for. And he said, you know, there's no such thing as a misuse of it, but when you use it and you say you see this and you say it means someone's sick, he said that's not really accurate. That's what he said. And this is the guy who invented it. So let me just show you real quick, because I got it right here. Here it is. He's a very interesting guy.
To estimate all these supposed free viral RNAs that may or may not be there.
I think misuse PCR is not quite. I don't think you can misuse PCR. No, the results, the interpretation of it. See, if you can say, if they could find this virus in you at all, and with PCR, if you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. It starts making you believe in the sort of Buddhist notion that everything is contained in everything else, right? I mean, because if you can amplify one single molecule up to something that you can really measure, which PCR can do, then there's just very few molecules that you don't have at least one single one of them in your body. Okay, so that could be thought of as a misuse of it, just to claim that it's meaningful. And it is. No, there's very little of what they call HIV, and what's been brought out here by Philpott and Isai already. The measurement for it is not exact at all. It's not as good as our measurement for things like apples. An apple is an apple. You know, you can get something that's kind of like, if you got enough things that look kind of like an apple and you stick them all together, you might think it's an apple. But and HIV is like that. Those tests are all based on things that are invisible, and the results are inferred in a sense. PCR is separate from that. It's just a process that's used to make a whole lot of something out of something. That's what it is. But it's not. It doesn't tell you that you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing you ended up with really was going to hurt you or anything like that.
So he said it doesn't tell you if you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing you ended up with is going to hurt you or anything like that. So that's the inventor of the PCR test, who unfortunately passed, I believe, in 2019. Very interesting guy. I would recommend his book. So that's the test they're using with the emergency use authorization. I don't say these things to be mean. I'm just saying, if any of these Republicans really cared about freeing the country, they would get to the bottom of the testing scheme. It all runs from the testing, the financial incentive, the money, the cases, the deaths, the death rate. It all leads from the testing. How much are they testing? How are they testing? How loosely are they testing? What tests are they using mostly? The PCR test. So I think this is maybe the disconnect between me and some people. I know that Trump, DeSantis, Rand Paul, they're doing stuff, but they don't care about this, because I know this because I don't have all this money. I don't have workers. I do everything. If I can do it, these people have budgets. They have team members. They have this person studying this. They have this person making campaign videos. If I can do it, they can do it. And this is the hard part that I think people don't understand, is the reason they're not doing it is because they actually don't care. And it doesn't make them terrible people, but people have learned to they idolize Ron DeSantis is going to save me. Trump is going to, it's kind of selfish. And it's nice to like somebody, but Ron DeSantis is not going to save you. Trump is not going to save you. The Republican Party is certainly not going to save you, but that doesn't mean the world. And then I say that and people say, you're black-pilled. You're such a doom and gloom. And I'm thinking to myself, you're such a, I don't want to be rude, but you're so pathetic that you thought the Republican Party was going to save you. All these Q people, they act like they're so cool. It's like, to me, it's just pathetic. I'm like, your whole life revolves around making a fantasy fairy tale about Donald Trump being Aquaman. That doesn't make me think you're this I'm just like, the people who are promoting and perpetuating this lie to millions of people on a monthly basis. I'm like, it doesn't mean the world's over if Donald Trump doesn't solve it. It means you should have never thought that was what it was going to be. It's okay that people did, but it's like it's playing to people's goodwill. They want something good to happen, so they're buying into this narrative that's how it's going to happen. If I listen to this for something, at the end of the day, it's like the testing. If more people cared about the testing and cared about the root of it, this would have to be a main priority of the Republican Party, but not enough people care. And people assume when I say this, like, no, Trump's he's going to do, it's like, no, they don't care. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means they don't people, when I say that Trump doesn't care about mandatory vaccinations, they say, well, Trump didn't make it mandatory. Yeah, but it was always going to be mandatory. How did I know it was going to be mandatory in 2020 before the pandemic? How did I know that? Am I a wizard? No, it was obvious. You could see the writing on the wall. So if I could figure it out, I'm sure Trump could figure it out. He just didn't care. And now that it's out there and it's being mandated, which we knew was going to happen before he even pushed it, does he talk about it ever? Almost never. So if you talk about bringing it here and rushing it here and pushing the FDA and beating Fauci and Moderna and Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, a great product, they never should have took it off the market 40, 50, 60 times. And I hear you talking about military members being forced, children, workers, 0 times. What does it mean? It means he doesn't care enough to talk about it. But people idolize him so much, they think he's like a god. No, he does care. He didn't mean, it's like he's a leader who's selfish and wants credit for it and literally can care less about the millions of people who are being harassed with the product that he wants credit for. That's the truth. He just doesn't care. But it's okay. It doesn't mean you have to hate him. It doesn't mean the world's only over if Trump's your world. If Trump's not your world, he's one leader who isn't doing exactly what you maybe wanted him to do, or maybe you did want him to do it. But you get what I'm saying? People are just hiding behind him and their whole world is him. And then they lash out at me when I'm like, I'm not being mean. I just can tell he doesn't care. But when I say that, the base doesn't say, well, let's make him care. They just make excuses for him. So why would someone change if they make excuses for him? He doesn't need to change. Why would he change? There's millions of people who will just sit in the comments. Oh my God, he cares. He didn't make a mandatory. It's like, okay, you get it. All right, let's read some comments. Someone said, whatever happened to the military homie who went on live stream a few weeks ago? I mean, I don't want to talk about his situation, but yeah, I don't know. So he decided to scale back a little bit. All right, let me get to the super chat. I'm sorry I missed them on Facebook. Let me see. Thank you, Linda. Said God bless you. Terry, thank you so much. Marie, Misty, Christy, Jake. Appreciate you. Shelly, Ken, Ebony. Appreciate you, James. Mary, appreciate you. Kim said America First is a joke. I don't know which America First you're talking about, but honestly, if you're talking about the Nick Fuentes crowd, I know that maybe you said that before. Here's the thing. You're never going to see a Nick Fuentes and a Charlie Kirk debate. You're never going to see a Nick Fuentes and a Ben Shapiro debate. Do you know why? Because Nick Fuentes would win. And Charlie Kirk is afraid of Nick Fuentes. So he would never debate Nick Fuentes. I'm telling you, Nick Fuentes roasted Robert Barnes. I like Robert Barnes. Great lawyer, great reporter, great news host, great podcaster. Robert Barnes is great. Nick Fuentes roasted him and embarrassed him to people who know what they're talking about. So Charlie Kirk, you could say they're a joke, but Charlie Kirk will never debate Nick Fuentes because Nick Fuentes would shatter his illusion, and all Charlie Kirk would be able to say is racist, anti-Semite, homophobe, because he wouldn't be smart enough or honest enough to debunk what Nick was saying. So you'll never see that debate. Charlie will hide and dodge and cry victim and, say America's an idea and, it doesn't matter about the land and everybody who disagrees with them is anti-Semite. And he'll just keep saying that. He could never debate Nick Fuentes. Someone said, would he go on Shapiro's show? I'm sure Nick would go on Ben Shapiro's show. I'm telling you, Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk avoid that guy like the plague. It's not because he's so bad. It's because he's more honest than they are, and they would get fried in a debate. They couldn't come close. Because the debate's all about honesty. Like it's, I'm not going to say Nick's perfect, but it's like, who's more honest? Whoever's more honest in the debate wins. Who's more smart, more honest, more accurate, more thoughtful, fair. You got to be witty. A debate is like a verbal fight. So, I mean, Shapiro and Kirk are lying about what Nick wants to talk about, just like Robert Barnes is. I love Robert Barnes. He was lying. Islamofascism. He's a conspiracy theory, anti-Semite. It's like, bro, he got fried. It was embarrassing. He did honestly worse than most people. Like for a good lawyer, his blind spot on that topic was like insanely bad. I was like, I mean, I've watched a lot of Israel, right-wing debates before. Robert had to be one of the worst debaters I've seen on that topic. And I like Robert. I was shocked at how bad he did. But it's not easy to go in the lion's den and face somebody who disagrees with you, It's tricky. But Nick has been banned. He's been banned from YouTube. He's probably been banned from Facebook. He's been banned from TikTok. He's banned from everywhere because, I mean, he said some things that got him banned, He said some things that were edgy and certain jokes that were off color and considered hate speech. But to me, I'm not that big of a snowflake, but I get it. There's certain things that people say that you could, isn't that crazy? You make one joke or you say one thing and you're the worst person ever. This is part of our culture that's bad. Like even the right wing's like, I can't believe Nick said that. What about if there's a president who bombs millions of people? Like what matters more? Someone said something 10 years ago or somebody bombed a million people? People will make a bigger deal about Ilhan Omar's tweets than they will about like the Yemen conflict with Saudi Arabia. It's like her Twitter is not as bad as a full-blown like murderous conflict or a legislation that actually passes through that's bad. Like, I find that both parties love to fight over words. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's the comedy I like. I love like raw comedy. I've always liked messed up comedy. Like I remember I used to like Anthony Jeselnik, where he used to say super messed up things. Like Anthony Jeselnik's whole comedy is like, I'm going to say things that are so disturbing. I used to love that when I was younger. I thought it was funny. So I just can't relate to all these people calling each other racist and anti-Semite. I don't know. If you say, I literally hate everybody of this race, and it's like, okay, dude, calm down. But if you're going to make a joke about something, I don't know. I'm not that offended, but I get it. People are sensitive about certain things. Like it's that whole wave of like political outrage just flew right over my head. I don't get it. I love like, there's this one skit that Owen Benjamin has. He's been banned from everything too. He's got a skit with like Pol Pot and this guy Mountain Bear did it. It's so funny. But if he were to actually broadcast that and, I think it got taken down off YouTube or something, everyone would call him certain words like, oh my God, that's so hateful. To me, I don't know. I think comedy is supposed to push the boundaries. So I don't know. It's like, maybe you should just shut up and laugh. It's like, well, it's like, if it's funny, it's funny. If it's not, it's not. I'm not with the whole hate speech train. I don't know. And I think it spans both parties. Someone said Robin Williams voted for Joe Biden. Yeah, and I think that's what they got Nick on. Nick was making a very off-color joke a while ago, and they've basically spun it. And he also says crap all the time, but I'm just not. And I don't really watch him that much, to be honest. I just watched the debate with Robert Barnes. It just doesn't. I don't know. I'm more bothered by like actions than words. That type of stuff just. I miss that whole like train. I should come to Michigan, someone said. Maybe. Too many laughs for the gulag. Yeah, I mean, what comedians do you guys like? Well, I got extra time, but I like a little bit of everything. Someone said if George Carlin was alive, now that's a good comedian. George Carlin was like a wise man and a comedian, And he's another one. He wasn't like he made fun of Christians and he made fun of America. I didn't find it offensive. I found it interesting. I think he was a very interesting guy. I didn't always agree with what he was saying, but it's like, imagine trying to shut George Carlin up, oh my God, don't make fun of Christians. It's like, or you could just watch and see what he says. And, if you hate his comedy so much, you can make your own comedy. I don't know. It's like, that's even on the right wing. Anytime you use those words, in my opinion, it screams to me, I'm not smart or honest enough to debate them. So it's like, you can debate and beat somebody, but you have to do it with the content of what you're saying. If you're just like, they're hateful. It's like the comedian's hateful. The newscaster said, why is he so hateful? Like what? I mean, prove it, so that to me, that's a defense mechanism for people on the left and the right. When they're not smart enough to debate somebody, they try to play the moral high ground. Oh, I'm way nicer than them. They're a racist. And you're like, it's easy for you to say when you're not talking to them. Could you talk to them and show the world why they're racist, or would you lose? That's for the viewers to decide. But someone said, Cassie is John McCain's. I'm not going to read that. It's going to get me in trouble, but people can read that. That's pretty funny, Cassius. I like the joke. Someone said Tom McDonald's is capitalizing, nothing more. He's definitely capitalizing, but it is what it is, you know? No one's filling that void of like rap music that's anti-PC, and he's going for the super, you know, aggressive videos. Someone said Ralphie Mays has a Facebook page. I'm surprised his videos don't get censored. I think a lot of comedians that are like mainstream get the pass, you know, but some don't. Someone said bunch of base Norm Macdonald fans in here. Norm Macdonald is funny. I like his sarcasm, you know. I like a good dry sarcasm. I can appreciate that in my elder years. Someone said I worked with Jim Gaffigan right after his state troopers in. I love comedy. Someone said Tim Allen. Mitch Hedberg is funny. And I think that like in politics, I'm going to write my book after I'm done with this live stream because I've been doing a little every day. But I'm so excited to get this book out there because I think I really pitched my point. Because it goes like some people are like, yeah, no, I know he's not racist, but he's racist. Well, he's not. Like to me, that word doesn't mean anything. If you literally say, I hate everybody that looks like that, no matter who they are of all time, and I don't want them to exist, okay, that guy's a racist. But anything else, like, you know, like the tweet I brought up earlier, if you care about skin color, you are a racist. That's just a generic statement that means nothing. If you're African, you have the right to care about your skin color from a health perspective. You have a right to care about it from an ethnicity perspective. You have a right. I mean, I don't know. You know, it's actually a really dumb statement. If you care, I care about my skin color because sometimes I'm super white. Sometimes I'm tan. Sometimes I look so tan, I look darker than Kamala Harris. And I care about it because it's like, I care about my body. It's the same. I care about my back. I care about, you know, my knees. I want my body. I care about my muscles, not in a selfish way, but it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to sit in the sun too long. So I need to make sure that I'm not turning red because that's not, it's like, it's just a generic, stupid statement. Like, oh my God, you care about that? It's like, maybe the Italian cares about their heritage. Maybe the Hawaiian does care about that. I don't think that makes them a racist. You know, like that word is just so overused. Like I think 99.9% of the time it's being used incorrectly. It's a word to just say, you can't talk about it. It's boring to me. I'm over it. I'm over it on both sides. And I hope my book really gets that out. Bill Barr is very funny. I like Bill Barr a lot. Or Bill Burr. Bill Burr, you mean? Bill Barr is the political guy. Bill Burr is funny. Richard Pryor, very funny. Andrew Dice Clay, very funny. Someone said if everything is racist, nothing is racist. Exactly. But that word in general, it's like it's weaponized where there's nothing wrong with like, I mean, what if I went to Koreatown and I said, you shouldn't care about your race. You shouldn't care about your language. You shouldn't care about your culture. It's like, would they be racist because they're doing what they want to do ethnically? Or would I be racist for telling the Asians to not do that or the Koreans to not? Like neither one is, you get what I'm saying? That word doesn't even make sense. Like everybody has the right to do what they want. Like you don't have to like country music. It's a communist idea that you have to do what the state or Charlie Kirk tells you to do. Like you have to care about everything. It's like, you actually don't. You know, if you live in Zimbabwe, you don't have to really give a shit about white people at all. And I'm not going to make you care about white people. If you love white people, that's awesome. If you don't, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, it's obviously I would appreciate if you didn't hate me, but if you don't have to do that. Like, I don't feel offended. Like I have to go around the world and ask everybody to love my skin color. Like it's just annoying to me where it's like, you know, if people don't want to feel a certain way or they prioritize their own culture over others, I just don't find that offensive. I think it's a dual party trap to destroy ours where, you know, most countries have a certain idea of who they want to be. You get what I'm saying? It's like, this is who we want to be. You can come and join, but we're not going to change. It's like, you know, we're not going to change our whole thing just for you. You can come and assimilate to ours. That's why America's a doormat. We're not, people don't assimilate to America anymore. We assimilate to what everyone else wants to be. Charlie doesn't want the land. The left wing doesn't want anything. We're just like an open vessel. Like, I don't like this, you know, And I don't think you can force somebody to like you or not like you. And to me, just the word racist is annoying. Like if I went to like, for example, one of my buddies is a pro basketball player. He's a professional basketball player. I went to his friend's birthday party, who's my friend too. I was probably the only white person there, honestly. Really cool people, really good vibes. And I don't know. I would never think about going there and using the word racism. Like no one has to like you. No, if you make it a thing, it probably means you're like annoying. Like it's like the person who like wears the shirt like it's a racism. It's like just shut up and eat the food. You know what I'm saying? Like you get what I'm saying? For the most part, the people who cry racism the most are usually the most annoying people. It's like everyone doesn't have to like you. Everybody doesn't have to invite you everywhere. Everyone doesn't have to cater around you. If someone doesn't want to like you for who you are, they don't have to. If someone is mean and they don't like you for other reasons you can't control, then just stay away from them. There is no like, it's this commie idea that everyone has to do whatever I want. It's like, actually, no. And that's the point of the 50 states and the world. That's supposed to be like, I don't want to live in Bali, but if I wanted to live in Bali, I'd go to Bali. If I wanted to live around, if I wanted to go to Africa, I'd go to Africa. I could move to Thailand if I wanted to move to Thailand and be like Eric Dubai and make flat earth videos. I could move to Hawaii, but if I move to Hawaii, it's about their culture. You get what I'm saying? The Big Island is Hawaiian culture. So it's not all about me. If I move to Hawaii, I'm supposed to assimilate to their culture. And if something happens that is off color, what am I supposed to cry about it for the rest of my life? Like, no, that's what happened. Now you got to learn where not to go, who not to mess with. Like that's this whole idea that it's a communist idea that everything has to be the same. If Africa wasn't Africa, America wasn't America, Paris isn't Paris, England isn't England, Asia's not Asia, then what is the world? If nothing's anything, it's we all live in a pod, we all eat cicadas, and we're all happy. It's like dual party communism. And I know the right wing is trying to be nice because I understand the ideology. Like I don't make friends based on ethnicity. I make friends based on content and character. In my personal life, I have friends of every ethnicity, every race, every religion, and I like them for who they are. I don't like them for a net sum of what everybody that looks like them or is their religion is doing. That's not how I have Muslim friends. I have Jewish friends. I have Christian friends. I have atheist friends. I have liberal friends. I have all sorts of friends based on who they are. But that doesn't mean that race doesn't matter at all. And I have to, where it's like if they want to feel a certain way about their ethnicity or their culture, I shouldn't strip that from them, and they shouldn't be able to strip that from me. I don't think like that. To me, that just sounds like a trick. Like, I think your skin does matter in the sense of you should be self-aware of what your skin color is and what you can and can't do health-wise. Like I said, the sun is the main one. I'm going to read this. Joe said, facts. People in this country need to understand this. I had someone tell me that English wasn't the language in America. Here's the thing. When I was younger, I used to hear adults saying they used to get mad at the Spanish phone things. I used to think that was racist. I was brainwashed as a kid to be like, that's racist. That's racist. But here's the thing. America, the language is English. It's good to know other languages. But at a certain point, if English isn't the language of America, America's not America. Like at one point, America was Mexico. And then we bought it or stole it. I don't really know history. And at a certain point, someone might steal it back. So if you don't want to get conquered, or you don't want to get taken over, like I wouldn't think that China wants to not speak Mandarin. I'm sure they want to speak Mandarin. So, I think it's totally okay to want certain things in life. But if everybody felt that way, there isn't all this tension. And I think forcing people to do what they don't want to do is also creating more tension. Like, for instance, if there's a neighborhood that's white and they allow anybody to move there, but they're not in a rush to change the demographics, if you're a liberal or a conservative and you're in a rush to change the demographics, is that going to make it safer or happier? There's millions of Black Americans who don't want to live around white people. Like Louis Farrakhan, he said one time where he would be fine with segregation. This might be controversial. I would be willing to allow him to do that in a certain area. I think rather than have tens of millions of people who don't want to live around other ethnicities, I would think you should just let them try that somewhere. Am I wrong? I don't know. It's like if I moved to Japan and I'm like, I want to live around these, it's like just go there. Like they're trying to artificially force everything together where things are already coming together. There's already diversity. There's already multiculturalism. But, if certain people want to draw the line, I would be willing to let them try that. I don't know. I just don't think the way they're doing it right now, I don't think it's working. And I know it's not working because certain areas are just crazy crime zones. And then other areas are getting worse. And I wouldn't say the morale of America is at an all-time high. I would say it's at an all-time low. I would say that people are more tense and divided, and a lot of it is definitely the media and the liberal ideology, but also it's like people are not made to be forced into doing certain things. I don't think that's the proper thing. I don't know. I think that's why we have 50 states. If you don't want to live a certain way, you can go to that state and they have different laws, different, Second Amendment laws. Why would you live in Florida and just cry about, this? I don't know. You could move somewhere else, but I get it. People vote. People want to change things. Someone said Native American Indians had the first language in America. Probably the first on record that we could know, but I'm sure someone might have had it even before that. And it's like if the Native Americans saw the whatever Spaniards or white people coming, they had a right to say, hey, I don't want those people to come. I don't think anyone would have called them racist. If they saw Christopher Columbus, whoever came over, and they were like, dude, I don't trust that guy. What would be the easiest way to conquer the Native Americans? It would say, oh, you're racist. Oh, no, you're racist. You have to let Christopher Columbus come here. Oh, no, you're a racist. You have to let the Spaniards come here. That's how you get conquered, And that's like, in hindsight, now that America's America, America's going to get conquered too, because there is no line drawn. So maybe it feels good to people, but someone's going to rule it. There's going to be some culture, some religion, and this is my problem with liberalism. Okay, if you tear down what America is, what are you going to build? Because it's okay to tear something down if you could build something better. But if you don't have something better to build, like the left, they want to tear down the Constitution, this, gun laws, this. Okay, so what do you want to place in? They don't really have a strong idea of what would work. That's why they buy into the 2 masks. That's why they buy into the lockdown. So my problem with the left is not, oh my God, I care about race. I just like their ideas suck. So, if the right doesn't win this, we're screwed, because they're just jumbling all these ideas together. And I think that's a good example of how multiculturalism, if it's not, tactical, it's just a jumble. So it's like, if you're Hawaiian, you have this culture. If you're this, you have this culture. If you're this, you have this culture. If you're American, at a certain point, we became multiple cultures. But now we're losing that multiple cultures culture that we had, the flag, the anthem. I'm proud to be American. The left wants to lose that. So what's their idea? What's their they don't have an idea. Just put a rainbow flag on JP Morgan Chase and Zillow.com. It's like, that's not a culture. This is just a jumble, stupid thing. It's like, well, fat is beautiful. It's like, sure. Yeah, you can be beautiful and be fat for sure. But at the same time, it's like, can I work out at a gym? Oh, I can't work out at a gym because you locked the gym down. Like, do you get what I'm saying? These people are just ass backwards. It's like, if you want to be fat, but you can't, wage a war on gym bros because they want to open their health facility. So the left's problem is not that they're like it's just bad. It's bad for every race. It's bad for every ethnicity. It's just like a jumble of 50,000 ideas, but without the main driver that made America great, which is like the flag, the freedom, the fact that if you're Venezuelan or African and you came to America, you at least appreciate the fact that you're free. You at least appreciate the fact that you can speak freely. You at least appreciate what that you don't had. That's why some immigrants are the best Americans, ones that really left somewhere bad. They're like, we don't have that anymore. The left is kind of driving that away. And the right is kind of, playing this little game, but you get it. Let's read some. Someone said, we're the new Native Americans. No, we'll get conquered for sure. I mean, I'm not saying for sure, but I'm trying to wake people up because it's like this all happens with the left. They want to get conquered. They won't tell you that, but they are so self-hateful. They hate their skin color. They hate their ethnicity. They hate their country. They hate their Constitution. They hate the First Amendment. They hate the Second Amendment. They hate freedom. They hate gyms being open. They love lockdowns. They're like crying for help. Like psychologically, it's like, I hate myself. I hate my country. Somebody come take it, you know? So it's like they're just open to the highest bidder. They don't know what's going on. They're just, you know, they're just like self-sabotaging, and then somebody stronger is going to come in and fill the void. So, you know, there's a lot left to be desired with America, but I think even with race and stuff, it's not that it should be the driving factor in everything like the left is making it, but there's certain conversations that I think should be allowed to be had. It's just the way that they are being had is not the way, you know, like the left dominates the racial narrative, and it's kind of backwards. But let's see. Someone said they want to be dominated. Yeah. Someone said, I highly doubt we will be conquered. People are willing to fight. I'm trying to I'm not literally trying to rally the troops, but I'm saying metaphorically, I'm just trying to fire people up a little bit, not in like a crazy way, but in a like, I mean, slowly we're getting whittled down where for sure people have more fight in America. And I think, you know, out of every country, we're the hardest ones to kind of wear down because of our culture and our constitution. But, you know, you sleep at the wheel for too long, they're going to wear it down to the point where it doesn't work anymore. So I would say we're on the threshold of, you know, earlier what I was talking about, that to like the Christian conservative base, I really do think though that there's a huge blind spot where they have aligned themselves with a group of people that would be willing to throw them in the fire at any second for their own benefit. And the Christian conservative base doesn't understand that, and they're ready to get thrown in the fire, and they lash out at people when they tell them that. So it's like on one hand, for sure, there's a lot of winners, a lot of fighters. On the other hand, the Christian conservative base is attached at the hip to a political social philosophy that literally can care less about their religion, their Messiah, their race, their culture, their country, their constitution. So at a certain point, it's an unhealthy relationship. You know, that's the driving thing I was trying to say earlier. I will make a whole video on it. I have a few videos beforehand. I actually have one on race. You know, it's going to be good. I think it's going to be well received because, you know, the next video I'm going to do hopefully tomorrow morning, there's this National Geographic thing, and they're taking pictures of people, and they're basically like doing like a picture and a quote thing. And National Geographic had this one white guy with a Black Lives Matter shirt on, and his quote was something along the lines of like, you know, when I see Black people succeeding, it confuses me. And it inspired me to not be like that guy, but make this next video that I'm going to make, hopefully out tomorrow, because I feel like that really encapsulates what left-wingers think of Black people, where it's like he admitted, when I see someone succeeding, it weirds me out. I don't feel that way at all. You know, like I said, I'm willing to talk about race, but when I see someone Black succeeding, it doesn't confuse me at all. I just think that guy probably worked really hard, or that guy's really good at what he does, you know? So their whole thing of being like, oh my God, I love Black people so much. This guy kind of dropped the ball and admitted what he really thinks, which is like, they call it the bigotry of low expectations. I know Thomas Sowell has talked about it, where they act like they're helping, but really they think so lowly of you. You can't get an ID to vote. You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can't stop killing each other in Chicago. You can't do this. We'll help you. But really, it's like these self-sabotaging liberals are thinking in their head, they don't actually think you're like impressive or good. When you do good, they get mad at that. That's why they get so mad at conservative Black people. We're like, I see a Black dude in a suit with $10 million. I don't think, wow, that's crazy. I'm pumped. I'm like, that guy's crushing it. I would love to see more people like that. And I'm sure I will. And if I see someone good at an athlete or whatever, I'm like, that guy's crushing it. That guy's smart. You know, I don't think it's crazy to see that. I'm like, that's great. I would love to. The left looks at that and they get mad. They hate seeing Black people do well, because their whole thing is like, I don't want you to do well. I want you to suck, and I'll try to help you not suck, but they're not actually trying to help you. So it's like the conservative, although they're flawed and they have their own problems, they don't look at Black people like that as much as they try to say. I mean, maybe some fringe people, but for the most part, it's like, if you do well, that's fine. But if not, the right's not going to baby you. Like if there's a crime-filled community, the left looks at it and thinks, no, that's normal. That's their culture. Like, I'll make excuses for it. And the right thinks, yo, you got to stop killing people. Like, we're not going to make excuses for that. That's pretty screwed up. You're killing kids. So I'm going to do a whole video breakdown, but that I was like, wow, I'm so glad that guy admitted that, because I was like, usually liberals just think it in their heads. And he full blown admitted, like, I see this and I'm surprised. And it's like, dude, that's pretty weird, bro. But I got a lot of things on that topic though. Someone said race is just the distraction. If you want to get ahead in America, you need persistence and good work ethic. America's a great place for sure. I think, there's a lot of opportunity here, way more than other countries. And I think, like I said, I think you should be able to talk about ethnicity and race, but it should be productive and not in such a crazy way. But yeah, in America, the people who make the most excuses and hate it, they don't know anything else. If you get an African immigrant, if you get Asian immigrant, if you get a Venezuelan who escaped communism, I would say most Hispanics and Mexicans, like, they don't play the victim ever. They look at this as an opportunity. I can make 4 times as much here, send money back to my family, and still buy a car. So I think that perspective of like, well, yeah, it could be better, but it could also be way worse. That's what they brainwash people in America, especially like second, third generation, to just hate the country and think that, the way to get ahead is to complain and be annoying, where for sure, hard work, dedication, and being a decent person. I think, especially if you don't fit the mold, it's that much better to see you doing that. I've seen so many people go from here to here in all sorts of categories just because they had a grateful mindset. Like, okay, it could be better, it could be worse, but regardless of what your skin color is, you got to come to terms with who you are. That's why I think it's like, oh, you shouldn't care at all. It's like, you should care about yourself, and you should come to terms with like, okay, this is who I am. These are the cards I was dealt. It could have been much better. It could have been much worse. I got to bust my ass anyway. That's life. Like, that's all it is. You can't harp on what you don't have. And I think that mentality, it really serves the top of the pyramid. People think it's this virtuous thing to, really help their race and such. But if you really look at Black Lives Matter and these organizations, they are doing more damage to Black communities and Black culture and Black branding, the brand of Black. I think they've done more damage in other communities than ever. And it's not because they're so awesome and so great. It's because their idea of activism was literally just throwing it at everybody's faces all the time, justifying the complete destruction of multiple neighborhoods. Now they're worse. Now property value is going down. Now businesses are moving out. Now Black successful people are doing worse. And then then move on. So it's like, that type of stuff is super, super backwards. And there's a lot of culture warriors, though, that are fighting back. Sonny James with the super chat said, my mom wasn't allowed in the FBI during the 70s because she was first generation. I understood dual loyalties when my World War II veteran grandpa sleeped when Clinton bombed Sarajevo. He rolled over in his grave if he knew how lax the standards had become. Yeah, and I think, like, if they weren't allowed to serve in the FBI because they had dual first generation, just because of possible dual, it doesn't mean they're racist. Like, that word racist is just a trap. That's why you're anti-Semitic. Not every Jewish person has dual loyalty, but some do. Just like every Iranian doesn't have dual loyalty to Iran. Some Iranians love Iran more than Iran. Some don't. Some like Iran more than America, or what you get what I'm saying? America more than Iran. But these standards are so lax. Same with house building. It's not just BlackRock in America. That's a big story now. But China, a lot of these billionaires could just buy up whatever. So we used to have standards, not because we hated everyone else. You understand, whether it's China or Russia or Saudi Arabia or Israel or this country, there's going to be people who will take advantage of a weak spot. And I think America has gotten too weak. So that's what I'm trying to do. Maybe it doesn't, translate well all the time, but I think the left has gotten way too weak. And the response from the right is sometimes to, just trail and follow them, where I don't think you have to be mean or radical in a sense, but I am tired of this, like, just following down the line with them, where I don't think it's a mean thing to take a stand and be like, no, this is way too weak, And I think we need to go back in that direction where, yeah, if I move to another country, if they don't want me to serve in the military or serve in the government, that's on them. If that's the policy because they want to keep that country safe, who am I to demand a position somewhere? We're such a spoiled generation, or like that is seeping into both sides. Like everything's racist, everything's anti-Semitic, everything's sexist. It's weakening every industry, every agency, every, and by design, I think by design. We'll figure it out. Someone said we had respect for each other's strengths, now focusing on each other's weaknesses. Yeah, and I think honestly, when it comes to in my personal experience, I have friends that are Jewish, Black, Asian, Hispanic. My favorite people are people that don't play the victim in any culture. My favorite Jewish friend, I have many, but I've never heard them use the word anti-Semitic to me ever. And I've hung out with them for 3 years. We've had conversations about white people. We've had conversations about Jewish banking and stuff. It's like whatever. These topics that you'd be called an anti-Semitic or racist, I've never heard them say that, where it's like, I think the most annoying people are the ones who are always crying victim, whether it's Jewish or Black or white. The most annoying white person is like the beta, overly feminist, liberal. Like these people are just annoying now. It has nothing to do with even politics. Like as a person, like who wants to hang out with somebody like that? With my friends, I laugh, I make jokes, and we don't accuse each other of microaggressions. Like that doesn't sound like a friend. I didn't even do that when I was young. Why would I do that as a fully grown adult? So, it's beyond even just politics, where it's like in the right wing and the left wing, the most annoying people to me always say the word racist, like Charlie Kirk, no offense, but it's like, he's like, he's a racist, she's a racist, you're a racist. If you care about your skin, like, it's just annoying. It's like, can't we talk about something else? I get what you're saying, but it's okay to care, but it's like, I don't know. Someone said the 5 million and up homes in California have some rich Chinese living there. Well, it's all, regardless of your ethnicity, I think is fine to do well in America. But I'm talking about even like Chinese billionaires who don't even live in America. And, the laws are so lax where I think in Mexico, if you're American, you can lease, but I don't know that you can purchase that much, where other countries have way stricter laws about what you can and can't do because they don't want to be conquered and just totally overrun. Where our country, we're so weak. It's like they've subverted the Statue of Liberty. I don't think the Statue of Liberty meant, hey, it's open season, no matter who you are, any foreign country, any bad person. You just do whatever you want ever. Destroy all these neighborhoods, destroy these communities. And it's fine. It's like, that's the American way. I don't think that's how it was back in the day. I think there were certain standards that they had. And these words made them worse. Like in some ways, you could say things got better. In other ways, the 2020 lockdown combined with the crime wave going on in Philly, Chicago, Los Angeles, I would say that the country is on its way of being worse than it's been in a long, long time. And, it's unfortunate, but we'll get it better. Thank you, Richard. All right, one or two more things and I got to go. I stayed for 2.5 hours. I didn't even realize it. I had a lot of energy today once I got the water. Statue of Liberty was a communist woman, said DJ. Maybe. Someone said it's Masonic. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what it does stand for then. We should all just move north like the Arctic. It's too cold. I'm too bougie now. I'm trying to live in the sun, but maybe. Someone said people don't teach morals and respect for others anymore unless it fits their narrative. Yeah. Someone said if you love to race, are you a racist? You talking about like a motor race? That's funny. Someone said I wouldn't mind a place in Dubai. I've heard it's nice. I've never been. Rebecca said I'm enjoying the stream. Stay as long as you can. I will. I do. It is Friday, but I'm a loser. No, I'm just kidding. But I do really want to make this video about race for tomorrow because I think it's really going to be pretty enlightening. Because I've noticed a lot of people have been following my Instagram, like a lot of liberals, a lot of Black Lives Matter. I think it's because of the content. I'll dive into different topics, and I have a unique way of saying it. But I have a really good video that I think is going to break the mold with race. I think it's very interesting, and this I got a few things to line up, but we'll see. I want to read this real quick. Temple Hoskins said, the anti-Semitism law signed into by our so-called President Trump, sorry, it was a huge disappointment. He continues to deliver, managing to brag about his failures. I voted and prayed for the man. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's just, it sucks because it's tough to talk about this stuff. And I talk about it so much because I think it's so interesting to me that not that many people talk about it. So it makes me want to talk about it more. But it sucks because it's like, man, people, I've even heard, and I don't care, I'm not really sensitive, but I've heard people hit me up and be like, dude, I've heard you're this, I've heard you're that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Just because of these streams, like people will accuse you of being this and that and this, but it's like, I don't know. Those words are not just used by the left wing. It's used by the right wing when they can't understand what you're saying. And you say something about race or religion or ethnicity or countries that they just can't really understand. And their default is just to call you a name. Like, I don't know. Those words. Sonny James said, super chat, unfortunately, we're all foot soldiers for our race by lowest common denominator. It's sad because Orthodox Jews aren't their government. That being said, secular Jews use collective guilt against Gentiles. Sonny, yeah, I'm trying to read the super chat. I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody does their own thing, but when it comes to, I think Israel, where the big like trope that they say is just if you disagree with the government or what they're doing, you must hate everybody. And I think that's kind of whack. And, everybody in general, I think you're a product of what you learned and how you were raised. So if you were raised in Nigeria, I think you have a different mindset than an American Black citizen, depending who your parents are on average. And I think with Jewish, definitely depends if you're Orthodox or super secular and liberal. There's different people who really follow the religion, people who just don't care that much. But yeah, I think in general, the only reason that speech laws are being passed is because people don't want you to notice certain patterns and say certain things. And it doesn't seem that authentic to me, but someone said, I would love to visit Israel. I've heard it's very, very nice. I've never been. Someone said, thank you for saying, Chad said, thank you for saying everything you said in this stream. I'm sick of the cowardice. Thank you for being a real man. Thank you, Chad. I try. I don't put myself on a pedestal, but yeah, I'm honestly blown away. And I got to stop being so shocked. The perpetual shock is annoying, but I couldn't believe after 2020, like seeing how people responded. It's not just what happened, but how people responded. I've been shocked, man. And I appreciate you saying that, because I know there's millions of people who feel this way, and it's refreshing when someone says it. But yeah, I'm blown away by things people didn't do, and also just how they spend so much more energy getting annoyed when someone actually says it. I was like, it is very cowardly, and it's just like, man, I expected more, but that's my fault. I should have had lower expectations. Someone said Israel is amazing. The people are wonderful and kind. I've only heard good things about people who went there. Absolutely. It's just, geopolitics and politics. I think someone said I like Israeli women. Me too. I think it's just geopolitics, where the big lie is that if you question the Zionist agenda, you hate all Jews, where it's like, yes, Israel's the land of the Jews and Zionism is the, creation or the taking of the land. But at the same time, it's not like you have 7 options. It's the same as saying, if you hate Trump, you must vote for Joe Biden. If you like Biden, you must be you only have 2 options, and there's a million thoughts in this world. So with the Zionist agenda, they have a lot of power and a lot of influence, not just the Israeli government, but I'm talking about Christian Zionists and, the Republican Zionists. It doesn't mean that you hate Israel or Israelis or Jewish people, but I don't have 7 options. Like, that's why I talk about it all the time. I'm like, okay, well, this guy does this and this guy, they're all doing the same thing, and I don't agree with it. So it doesn't mean I hate that. I just, from an American perspective, I'm like, can you tone it down a little bit? Because this is getting a little annoying from our perspective. But yeah, I've heard the country is fantastic. I mean, like you said, I have a lot of Jewish friends. I know Israeli women. There's a lot of bombshells out there. So, it's all love for me, but it's like that's the part that really grinds my gears, because it's like, if say Candace Owens was talking, and if I tried to disagree with her every time she's like, you're a racist, you're a racist, you're a racist. If you disagree with this, you're a racist. It would get very annoying. It doesn't mean I hate her or hate black people, but that's the game that Prager and Shapiro play. They love Israel so much that they just constantly make false accusations of anti-Semitism towards any sort of pushback against the agenda that's going on, where it's like, dude, you guys got to calm down. I'm going to read this. Lillian said, she's upset. Lillian, you're on the air. Lillian Barnes said, what do you actually do to help people other than complain? What did you want? Were you there for January 6th to protest the fraudulent election, or did you just cry about it on your show? Well, I'm glad you asked, Lillian. I didn't go to the January 6th election fraudulent campaign or whatever it was. I didn't go there because Trump was selling vaccines, and I don't support vaccine salesman Trump, so I didn't go. And I'm glad I didn't go, Lillian, because January 6th was a setup event where all the Trump supporters that worship Trump went there, and they all got arrested or interrogated by the FBI. So I'm glad I didn't go. In hindsight, I would have not gone again. And it's sad to me that people like you are all upset that I didn't go. It's like, what did you want me to get arrested by the FBI? Why didn't you go to the 6th event? Because it was a setup event where the vaccine salesman threw his arms in the air, acted like he didn't know what was happening, and got all his supporters arrested and interrogated and raided. So why in the world would that be your concern? Are you a Fed or something? Why didn't you go to the 6th event? I don't know. Why did you go to the 6th event? I didn't go. Were you there to support Pfizer or Moderna? Which jab is your favorite? Because that's what he was selling. It's like Trump, Lillian, God bless you, but it's like Trump has people brainwashed on like a two-tiered system. Election fraud. Why didn't you go to the 6th? Because it was a setup. Sonny said judging Israeli citizens by their government would be the same as judging U.S. citizens by Biden. Never let the sun set on your anger. That's beautiful, Sonny. Thank you. I agree with that. Here's the thing, though. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong. I can't speak for everybody because there are just some assholes out there, but I don't think that many people judge Israeli citizens by their government. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there's crappy people on all sides that are super hateful, but when I see a lot of right-wingers talking about Israel from a right-wing perspective, I never see them talking about the citizens. I only see them talking about American Zionists in the American government, and also just the government of Israel, not even from an anti-Israel perspective, more on our politicians suck. I'm actually not mad at Israel at all. Why is it their fault? Why would I play the victim and blame Israel? Israel's doing what Israel needs to do. It's America who's stupid. It's the Trumps and the Shapiros and the Kirks. These are the people that I more have a bone to pick with, not because they're not even Jewish, just because they're American. So the point I'm getting to is, of course, it's terrible to judge an Israeli citizen by their government. It's the same as judging an American. But the problem is Shapiro, Kirk, all these Prager, what they do, if you disagree with any sort of Zionist agenda, which is by extension, the Israeli government and the American government, people like Biden and Trump, they call you an anti-Semite, and they try to use that as a straw man argument. Say, I mean, what do you want them all blown off the map? And you're like, no, what are you talking? You get what I'm saying? So I agree with you, but the big problem lies is I don't see in my world, and there's other worlds where people literally want to blow people up on both sides, by the way. I've seen both sides want to blow each other up, but I don't see that many people, or at least from my perspective, I would never say that, but people always accuse me of that. You get what I'm saying? I've never said that once. I've never thought that once. I've never once even put an Israeli citizen down. But anytime you even try to talk about it at all, they're like, what, do you just hate everybody? You hate everybody? You think everybody's bad? It's just, I'm like, I don't think anyone's bad. I think American politicians are stupid. It's not Netanyahu's fault. Netanyahu is smart. Israeli government is smart. Dual citizens in America who pass speech bills so people can't say that they have dual loyalty. They're really smart. You know what I'm saying? If you love Israel and you can lobby a different government to pass a bill in your favor, that's smart. I have no qualms with Israel for doing it. My problem is with American politicians, Christian conservatives, and Democrats who, sell out our country for them. It's not their fault. It's our fault. So. Grandy Lokent Goiver said, "Are you a spook?" No, but what What made you say that? I'm just curious. Like, what part of what I said did you disagree with? I'm not reading it because I care. I actually like people to disagree with me, but you got to give me like what part of what I said bothered you, or else it's just like, are you this? Are you that? Are you working for Biden? Are you this? And it's like, what part of what I said annoyed you? And then I'm just curious. A spook is like, I mean, it could mean different things, but I think it means like an agent, like a government agent or something. Oh, not me. You're talking about someone else. Never mind. I was just curious because it doesn't, but sometimes people say, he actually agreed with me. He was just saying something else. I like when people disagree, but I want to get like a point, because sometimes people are like, you're this, you're that. I'm like, all right, whatever. What do you think though? Someone super chatted. I do MIDI and instrumental, need samples, collab, love your work, music and analysis. How do I get in touch? I would say if you message me on Instagram and let me know it's you, I could give you my email and you could send me beats. I'm actually doing a song on somebody's beat that they sent me. So someone said, I think spook is a racial slur. It also means like a government agent though. So I think that's what he was talking about, but he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to someone else. It can mean like 4 different things, but on one hand, it's not an offensive word. Someone said Anomaly hardly reads his super chats. He hates his audience. I always read my super chats. I just don't read them in the middle of like speaking. Sometimes I miss them. Anomaly, keep crushing. God bless. Shout out to the Bears. Be fruitful and multiply. Thank you, Garrett. Shout out Bears. Someone says it's a racial slur. Well, look up the definition. It's not just a racial slur. It's Google the definition. Look here. I'll do it. That's an old thing, but it also means a ghost or a spy, or to frighten or unnerve. So, if you Google the word, it says the first way it could mean a ghost. It could also mean like a spy, like people say a CIA spook, or a frighten, unnerve. They spooked you. But yeah, I think the racial slur is kind of like outdated, and I don't want to lose another word where like that word, I've seen that word used 20 times, not racially, but to talk about, it's actually an actual word. So let's not go losing more words. Someone said, has Trump mentioned his supporters in solitary? I don't think he has. And here's the crazy thing. People get mad at me. They're like, why didn't you go to the 6th event? It's like hundreds of people got arrested who went to the event for Trump, and he hasn't said a word about any of them. Why? It's like, why would you want to set me up? It's like, did you go to that event where thousands of people got, interrogated, arrested, and raided by the FBI? It's like, no, I didn't. And Trump, with his idiotic leadership, still almost got me in trouble for not even doing anything. Got me dragged into this stupid crap, and I wasn't even there. Just by, I guess, association, or somebody gave them a tip or something. I don't even know. So it's like, not only did I not go, but Trump still almost got me in trouble based on him setting everyone else up. So Julia said, will I ever see Anomaly Topher Town music collab? Yeah, if he hits me up, I'd make a song with him. Definitely. Just let him know. Sonny said, amen, Anomaly. Shout out to the same companies. Yeah, I'm not trying to read that, Sonny. You're going to get me in trouble, but thank you for the super chat. Someone said, you've been talking about Trump for 2 hours. Come on, man. Doctor, you got to chill, bro. I think I've talked about him for like 2 minutes. And I would say in the last 2 hours, I probably talked about him for 5 minutes tops, if that. I would say we pretty much haven't talked about Trump for the last 2 hours. So you guys got to stop with the cult worship stuff. Like your head's so far up his rear that you're like hallucinating these theories that I've been talking about for an hour. I mentioned them once for like a minute because somebody literally commented on it. I didn't bring it up. They brought it up. It's like, dude, you got to get over yourself. I bring it up for 2 minutes. It's like, you've been talking about it for 2 hours. Bro, run the tape back. We have not been talking about it for 2 hours. It's so nuts. Someone said Trump equals therapeutics. Well, I'm going to say this because I saw another comment now just to piss that guy off. But I have to say this, my man. There's a video, if you could find it, I posted it a few months ago, of every world leader. They had every world leader reading the same exact script. And do you know what they said besides Build Back Better? They said, we're rolling out the vaccines and therapeutics, all of them. I have the compilation, 2 minutes long. Boris Johnson, we have the vaccines and therapeutics. Doug Ford, we have vaccines and therapeutics. Donald Trump, we have the vaccines and therapeutics. And the QAnoners were like, they were like, dude, Trump's secretly passing the therapeutics and not the vaccine. He's saving the world through therapeutics. It's like, dude, Trump literally said the same thing as every other world leader. He's reading the same script. I'm not blaming him, but it's like every world leader said vaccines and therapeutics, vaccines and therapeutics, vaccines and therapeutics. Trump says vaccines and therapeutics, and people's minds are blown. He said the same thing as every other world leader in the funny Trump way, and people think it's like a secret code where he's selling the vaccines and the therapeutics. And honestly, if you look up Regeneron, I believe they got Operation Warp Speed money. I'm going to look it up real quick because everyone's like, oh my God, Regeneron. They were covered under Operation Warp Speed too. Let me see. Operation Warp Speed, Regeneron. That was the big one when he got sick. He said he took Regeneron. Yep. HHS and DOD collaborate with Regeneron on large-scale manufacturing therapeutics. Let's see how much money they got. U.S. government purchases additional doses of Regeneron. U.S. expects over 1 million doses of Regeneron this week in Operation Warp Speed, Regeneron. So Regeneron landed a $450 million Warp Speed contract for its prospective COVID-19 treatment. So even when he pushed Regeneron, that was a $450 million Operation Warp Speed therapeutic. So there's nothing wrong with it. If it works, it works. I don't know. I'm just saying. It's like people are like, dude, he was blowing through the big pharma with the Regeneron. No, they got $500 million for that stuff. And Trump sold it just like he sold Moderna and Pfizer. I'm not trying to knock him. It's just like, guys, he sells Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Regeneron. He's selling all the therapeutics and all the vaccines, all the ones with Operation Warp Speed. And everyone's like, dude, he said therapeutics. And I'm like, every leader said, I'm going to try to find the video of it. I want to see. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's like I got to spell therapeutics, right? Hold on. Vaccines, I'm going to butcher therapeutics and probably never find this video, but I would love to find this video. Let me see. Legendary energy, because I want you guys to hear it. It's like every leader, every single one saying the same thing. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it. I don't want to waste too much time. Have I listened to Bryson's last couple of streams? I think y'all are both getting it. Are you talking about Bryson Gray? I have not listened to his live streams, but Bryson is one of those conservatives that he definitely just puts his foot down for what he believes in. And I think, at a certain point, people who do that are going to realize who does that and who doesn't do that. So yeah, me and Bryson have always got along, and he has certain strong Christian beliefs, and he's not willing to water them down. And the more he does it, the more he sees who supports him, who hates him, and who he likes that's saying certain real stuff. So yeah, I would love to chat with him again, but I love the fact that he just says whatever he wants, and it's refreshing. Sonny James said, I do think Trump did love America. We give him too much credit thinking he was in on the plot. He's too stupid. That being said, I do think his family held president over America's, and his grandkids are learning Mandarin for your information. Here's the thing though, Sonny, I don't want to talk about it too much because then people are going to cry in my live stream, but I don't think he's stupid. You think he's stupid? I feel like that's rude, but I'm not calling you rude, but I don't think he's stupid. I think people think he's a genius sometimes and they think he's stupid sometimes. I definitely think he didn't hate America, but honestly, I don't think he's that dumb. You think he went from being skeptical of this stuff to just being a full-blown salesman? I think he's a salesman. It's like Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell, everyone's like, he's saving the country. It's like, on one hand, Mike Lindell is a patriot. On the other hand, he's a salesman. Mike Lindell knows how to sell. His whole life, he sold a pillow that probably, I don't know, is it the best pill in the world? Probably not. Maybe it is. I don't know. But it's like he sells. He's a salesman. Trump is a great salesman. When Trump is selling something good, he sells it great. When Trump's selling something bad, he sells it great. He's a really good salesman. So I don't think he's dumb. I just think, but maybe you're right. I thought he was really smart. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit. I don't think he's as dumb as people think. I think that's the cop out when people don't want to assume that he knows what he's doing. He's too dumb to know what he's doing. Then what's the point of having a leader that's so dumb that they'll do something dumb and won't even know it? Like, you thought he's dumb, then why, then people will be like, I want him in 2024 because he's really dumb. It's like, it doesn't even make sense. It's just like people can't cope that he didn't do what I don't know. I don't think he's dumb. I think he's just not, he doesn't care. I don't know. Someone said it's a good pillow. Okay, we got some My Pillow fans in here. So good pillow, someone said. He can do more pull-ups than me. Who, Trump or Mike Lindell? Both true right now because I can't do any pull-ups right now. Someone said My Pillow kind of sucks. Someone said it's awesome. What's with the square pillow? My Pillow's dope. All right, we got a mixed bag in here. Someone said, did I watch The Apprentice? Someone said I couldn't stand him. I love The Apprentice, actually. The Apprentice was, to me, a very informative show. It taught me a lot. Let me see. I'm not going to read these comments. I feel like I could read your comments, but it's Groundhog Day to me, guys. We've had this conversation from April till now, and it's the same excuses. It's the same. Some people think he's really dumb. Some people think he's going to save the world. He's a super genius. Some people think he pushed the vaccines to open the country, even though the whole lockdown scheme was a big pharma government collaboration to push the vaccine. So there is no such thing of separating the two. It's like planting an apple tree and the apple falling on the floor and saying technically the apple's by itself. The tree had nothing to do with it. They're all connected, but I see the same excuses, the same theories. He's really dumb. He's really smart. He didn't know what he's doing. He got threatened. It's just sad, man. It's like, so he's a coward. Okay. So if I get threatened, what am I supposed to do? Just start lying? At least just quit or something. It's like, I don't know. This is why America's going where it's going, because nobody actually wants to do it. They just want to, it's like this big desperate attempt to just make excuses for stuff. I've seen this since April, and honestly, more than anything, it's just like, this is the most embarrassing thing to me with conservatives. It's like, just stop with the excuses and move on to like something else. Someone said, not saying he's stupid, but you can't run a country like a CEO. He was our Johnny Rotten. He wasn't supposed to get elected, but he took the insider route. Teach your kids Mandarin because Trump is. Yeah, he loves America so much. He's teaching his kids Mandarin. I mean, it's good to talk to Chinese billionaires and, politicians, I guess, but I don't know. Someone said, not making excuses. I just think they may have threatened him. I believe what you're saying. But here's the thing, though. It's like, have you ever heard of somebody with honor? Do you think no one's ever been threatened before in their life and that they just cave? If you get threatened and then you turn into a vaccine salesman for the rest of your life, you're a coward and you're a traitor. Okay? That's what you are. So you're calling them a coward and a traitor because it's like, oh, I got threatened, so I'm just going to usher in communism and sell big pharma jabs I don't agree with my whole life. What about now? It's 2021. It's been a year. He's still doing it. What, he's going to be a fraud the rest of his life because he got threatened? Like, does anybody have any honor anymore? Does anybody have any courage anymore? Nobody has any honor. Nobody has any courage. So they just make excuses for people with no honor and no courage. That's not an excuse. There's plenty of people in this world who have faced hardships and it didn't turn them into a vaccine salesman. So maybe at a certain point, it's like, just stop making theories of why come on, guys. I don't think any of that. Trump got threatened 100,000 times when he was president. Probably no one has been threatened more than the Trump family. And I have empathy for him because it's so wicked how they treated the Trump family. You think it's brand new to Trump to get threatened? Probably psycho liberals were threatening him all the time. That never stopped him in the first 3.5 years. You get what I'm saying? It's like, you think Trump's never had a run-in with a business deal? Trump's been doing business in New York City with hard-nosed people his whole life. You know what I'm saying? Trump is not afraid. Now it's like people's excuse for him is he's a coward. He's a liar. He's fearful. He's a pussy. Excuse my language. It's like, then who cares about him? Then let's stop talking about him. If he's that lame of a person, he's not that lame, guys. He's fine. It could be one of a million things, but it's like, is this how the world works? Everybody, if something bad happens, people just turn into a fraud for the rest of their life. Like, no, they want power and they want money and they don't want to rock the boat. So they just do certain things, or maybe they were never who you thought they were, or, maybe they're all just putting on a show, or it could be one of a million things. Who knows? It could be one of a million things. But to me, it's like, okay, I've had certain things happen in my life. Like, did certain things frighten me, or did certain things, bother me? Of course. But did it spin me around and did it turn me into a liar? I'm sorry, but I don't have it in me. I'm not going to live a cowardly or dishonorable life. So you get what I'm saying? It's like, there's nothing they could do to me to be like, oh, not only will I not quit, I'm just going to turn into a total fraud for the rest of my life and do something that I morally object to. Like, at that point, you're a coward and you're a fraud, No one can go down like a legend. They have to just live a coward and just sell their own people out. It's like, come on, guys. It's not to hold anybody to these grandiose standards, because anybody, it's a difficult position to get in, but like, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. I mean, maybe it's an interesting conversation, but I feel like it's really just people making excuses for them. That's what America is. It's the Republican Party who just makes excuses for their idols. There is no Republican base. There is no conservative base. Well, this, what do you want? Okay, well, yeah. It's like, well, then let it all happen then. Then just sit there and make excuses for it. Or at a certain point, there's going to be enough people who say, I don't really care why it's happening. I don't know. Why did George Bush start the Iraq war? Why did he do that? What are we going to talk about this all the time? Oh, well, his father told him to. It's like, who cares? It's like at a certain point, either you're just slowly getting conquered and slowly getting taken over and slowly getting thrown down the river, or you're not. So when enough people care as much about actually stopping it than making excuses for it, this could all end. But this is all we have. Just a bunch of excuses for a year and a half now. It's now 2021, same excuses, same things over and over and over and over and over. And people just never stop making excuses. It's so old. It's like the Trump party of just, let's just sit around and make excuses for things that we completely disagree with and talk about fear and cowardice and dishonor and say why it's totally fine for him to be fearful and cowardly and dishonest. And then 80% of these people who are calling him a coward and stupid because they can't cope with what happened. Now they're like, well, I would have him back in 2024. Why, if you think he's all these things, then why would you even want him there? I don't know. I don't understand. Like, I literally, this has been the big separation the last year and a half for me. I've stood my ground for a year and a half, and it's just been nonstop the same 5 excuses on loop. It's really pathetic. Sonny said, even if we had honor, look at the country. Peeps so focused on the presidential race, they don't care about their local representatives, grooming kids on black pill. Tell me what to do. Well, I don't know why you're so negative. I can't tell you what to do. I mean, if you're a parent, I guess you could homeschool or look after your own kids, but there's local governments who care and local people who care. Just, I guess if you're not in a community where people care, you could find one who is, but I see communities all over the place where, definitely conservative, not liberal, that actually care about this stuff and, carve out groups and stuff to get around it. But all right, let's see what Facebook can say. I got a few more. Someone said, we care in Long Island. Yeah, I mean, you just got to find your clique of people who care. But I think there's definitely a lot of communities who care. Don't be black-pilled. Someone said, Sonny, buy chickens, grow a garden, worship God, not Trump. I think it's good advice, but you gotta know how to garden and take care of the chickens. Someone said, why is Trump still pushing the vaccines? I don't know. Ask people. They'll say he got threatened. He loves it. He hates it. He's this, he's that. He's the smartest guy in the world. It's a therapeutic. He's dumb. It's this, it's that. He's 2024. He's just faking. He needs it. We need vaccines to open the country. The only way to open the country is to shut the country down and rush vaccines. You can't have a free America without doing that. That's what the Trump supporters will tell you. I mean, we've had a free country for 70, 80, 90 years, but, the only way to be free, Trump had to shut down and then reopen with vaccines because, you're really free if that happens. You're obviously not free if that happens, but, people love Trump so much, they'll sit and say 7,000 different things in the comment section for 5 years instead of just being like, no, stop. I don't agree. I don't care. So I don't know. Ask other people. They got chock fulls of ideas. Someone said, let me say, in Waco, Texas, the local police refused to go in and the feds came in. Yeah, I mean, Sonny, I feel like you're freaking yourself out where it's like, obviously things are crazy, but listen, if you're concerned about the community, now you're talking about Waco and the feds and stuff. Like, I think, you should calm down, enjoy your life, be grateful for what you have, think about what you can do in your personal life, whatever it is, and go from there. If you're thinking about Waco and the feds and you're black pilled and the schools are, I don't know. It sounds like too much going on there. I mean, it's good to think and it's good to be concerned, but I don't know. I'm not going to think of like crazy events in history and just be like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It sounds chaotic. I'm not trying to be mean, but Brandon said, QAnon nuts who are against the vax claim it's a miracle cure for cancer and every disease given us by Trump. The Q military is in control. People are honestly the worst. I mean, the base is friendly and they mean well and they're just like falling for liars, but they never tell you a straight answer. They'll tell you 17 different things, literally lie. If you say they're lying, they'll freak out at you and call you an agent. And then as soon as their predictions are wrong, they'll play this game of, well, technically, I never really said anything. When I said March, think March. March. I wasn't saying March 2021. I was saying March 2021. I'm talking about 2021 Q supporters marching in August. Did I say August? I'm not talking about August. I'm talking about August Alsina, the R&B singer. August Alsina has the key to the vaccine, which isn't a vaccine. It's not. It's a therapeutic. It's like they love thinking they're smarter than they are. They're like tarot card. They're like, listen, did I say January 20th? Did I say that? And I'm like, no, you for sure said that. I have the video of you saying it. And they're like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. We all think things and they're wrong. It's not a big deal. I've been wrong before too. It's cool. No. When I said January 20th, did I say 2021? And you're like, yeah, no, you actually did say 2021. Well, 2021 plus 1, 2022. 2022, election year, deer, reindeer. Think Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. What do you think of? And I'm Christmas. He's like, exactly, Christmas. It's coming on Christmas. So that's what I was trying to say. You just didn't read the Q code. You didn't read the QR code. We put it up on 4chan because there's nothing more credible than 8chan, the anonymous website where literally anyone can say anything. And if you would have studied the Q post more, you would understand what I got because they always act so pompous like that. Like when they're so like, I feel like they have like single digit IQs and they're like, you're like, I'm not following what you're saying. Well, like, yeah, well, of course you're not following what I'm saying because you haven't read the Q post enough. Like I've spent 10,000 hours in the Q forums reading the Q posts. And, I can't say I've really done anything. I've gained 100 pounds just reading the Q post because I haven't left my room, but I'm so knowledgeable about everything. I mean, and you're not there. So it's time for you to bow down to the Q leader. That's me. But there's other leaders behind me, except for when they're wrong, then it's like these people, they're funny though. No, I know the one. I was listening to, this guy was really irking me, but people kept telling me X22 report. So I'm like, dude, this guy must crush it because everybody kept telling me. So I started watching him. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like, he's like, listen, guys, January 6th is going to be a big day, okay? Trump's going to be in the White House in January 2020. And because Trump's going to be in the White House, you're going to want some gold. He's like, I'm selling gold. He's like, because Trump's going to be in the White House in 2020. He's like, anyway, he's like, it's looking and then like 2021, it's like the 21st. And he just moves on to the next thing, like as if he didn't make that claim. I'm like, bro, I have the video saved of you saying that he was going to be in the White House. And like a month later, he's like, oh my God, these people are wild. And people really, really buy into it. And I feel bad because it's like, I talked to a girl the other day on my Instagram page. She was very sweet. And she was explaining she was new to politics. She was getting into the Q stuff, and she was like, "It's not all fake." And I'm like, "No, I'm not saying it is." But this is why I really have grown to, think they're very like wicked people. They use human trafficking as a way to like, get people in the sense of like they say human trafficking is real. Yes, it is. Child trafficking is real. They show a lot of stuff into that, and it's awesome because it gets people to wake up to that, and that's amazing. I would never take that away. But then they say, okay, so you trust me now because I showed you about the human trafficking. And everyone's like, yeah. They're like, so now think 2 constitutions, 2 Bidens, Biden, Trump. Trump's in the White House. Trump's behind Biden. He'll come back in March. And then they use the human trafficking thing as a way to kind of like gain people's, once you learn about human trafficking, you're like, holy crap, I want to save the children. So, they prey to people's kindness because they know that it's a problem that they never heard about. So they become very loyal to the first person who told them about that. And then they kind of just take people on this wild goose chase where it's like Chrissy Teigen, any day now, lockdown. I remember during the March and April, because people, and they'll never admit this. This is the part that really annoys me. If you go back 3 years ago, you could find videos. I debated Jordan Sather, Praying Medic. I was honest and I was like, listen, anything could be real. This could be real. That could be real. But I talked to Praying Medic. He's one of the big Q guys in 2018, maybe like 3-4 years ago. So people act like this is brand new to me. I've seen these people. I've watched it. I've read the posts. I was always familiar with it, but I was always like, on one hand, they're teaching people about human trafficking. On another hand, these people think that Trump is Jesus and that he's going to save the world. So it's a little concerning. But anyway, they were asking for martial law for years. So, and this is not people like, you're lying. They get so defensive. Go watch my debate with Praying Medic. I said to him, it sounds like what you're looking for is martial law. You think martial law is going to come and they're going to arrest all the pedophiles. So I said to him, from a libertarian perspective, can you see how this might be a psyop and a trap? Because, libertarians, Bill Cooper, whoever you want to say, have always said if communism and tyranny comes to America, they're going to do some sort of martial law lockdown. And I said this to Praying Medic, and he was like, oh no, Q is a psyop, but it's a good psyop. It's a good psyop. And, they wanted martial law. So they'll never admit this because a lot of them are pathological liars who just keep moving the goalposts. But when the lockdown happened in March and April and May, they were pro-lockdown because they thought it was a secret plan to arrest the pedophiles. They'll never admit that they felt this way, but almost all of them did because for years they were being brainwashed and conditioned by a fake poster on 8chan telling them that a martial law lockdown would arrest the pedophiles. They'll freak out at me. They'll cry. They'll say all this stuff. But in March, April, and May, when I was doing videos on Fauci, when I was deep diving on the lockdown, when I was saying it was bad, when I was questioning Trump, when I said mandatory vaccines were coming, they told me to shut up. No. Trust the plan. No, this is part of the plan. They were pumped. People like Dylan, who has since apologized and taken on a whole new path, he was freaking out at me. A lot of people were like, dude, you're not trusting the plan. This is the plan. They're going to close the borders and they're going to close the Vatican. He's going to arrest the Vatican. And then the pedophiles are going to be stuck here. And I was like, dude, they're not locked down. You're locked down. And they freaked out. And then 3-4 months later, they figured out that the lockdowns were actually bad. And then they acted like they never said that stuff. But of course they said that stuff because the Q guy was telling them martial law. It was planting seeds in Republicans' heads. You want martial law. You want lockdowns. You want martial law. When the martial law comes, the white hats, the good guys in the government are going to arrest all the bad guys. So you want the lockdown. They wanted the lockdown. They cheered on the lockdown. They were obsessed over the lockdown for at least 2 to 3 months until they figured out it was bad. And then they were finally like, well, Fauci's the bad guy and it's China. And I'm like, dude, they never admit that they did that. But go watch my interview from 2018. Sonny said, there's more of us than there are of them. Constitution's in your heart. There are fates worse than death, like the 6th riot. How could you imagine? Peeps can win, but Gandhi won with hunger. Yeah, Sonny, I think like just have a good day, relax. I hear you, but it's like I'm with you. Just don't get too stressed out. You sound stressed out. You're stressing me out. So it's like enjoy yourself, have a good day. You can't win a whole battle in the world for sure, but all you can do is do the best you can do. Enjoy yourself. Wake up as many people as you can, including yourself, and then that's all it is. Like at a certain point, we can't freak out, and you don't want to be blackpilled. So it's okay. So I'm going to say go to NCVI Vax compensation payout total. In 2021, over 1,100 have been compensated, 350 million. I'll check that out. All right. I got it. This is like a long stream. I didn't mean to. Someone said Q is a PSYOP, no question. Honestly, it could have been anything. It could have been a person who just posted. It could have been a purposeful thing. If anybody knows what 8chan is, though, you have to understand 8chan is like anybody can post. Literally anyone. Everybody says whatever they want anonymously. If you look at the first couple Q posts, it was talking about Hillary's going to be arrested then. It was probably, in my opinion, a guy who was pro-Trump who was just screwing around. I don't even know that it was like a bad person that was purposely trying to brainwash Trump supporters. It could have been, because it's very reminiscent of Operation Trust out of the Bolshevik Revolution. But some part of me thinks that two guys or a guy they kind of just got carried away and people started believing it. So it's like, why would they stop? It does sound like, it's called Operation Trust. The Soviet Union did the same thing. That's why it's like, was it random? Maybe, maybe not. But at this point, like I'll say this because I've said it a few times, but I don't think I have really recently. When you look at the military, the military is run by Democrats at this point. The military, there's a lot of conservatives in it. But if you talk to any conservatives in the military, most of them will tell you they're really going hard with the vaccine. They're really trying to say you can't leave, you can't do this. There's a story about West Point saying they're losing their freedom if they don't take the vaccine. They're not forcing it, but they're basically scaring conservatives out of the military, scaring them from joining the military, and trying to make life miserable for them so they get the vaccine or leave the military. So the military is not only not in control, they're slowly taking it over. They're slowly weeding it out. So a smart conservative would identify that and say, hey, that's something to talk about. But the Q people, this is why it's a PSYOP. They say, don't talk about it. That's what an agent would do. The military's in control. They're like magicians who are constantly destroying winning narratives for conservatives and just dancing around and just stalling. So all last year, they were wrong about almost everything. It's not the vaccine. It's this, it's that. The plan's coming. It's going to be January. He's going to arrest all the pedophiles. The lockdown's good. And then as soon as it doesn't happen, they just say, well, technically, I never said anything because I'm speaking in codes and you're not smart enough to understand. But the theory they're going with now is the military's in control. Not only is the military not in control of the country, the military's being controlled by people that don't agree with the people in the Q movement. And they're, just like the police force, there's certain things the Democrats are doing with legislation and training to just make it more difficult to be a conservative in the military. So if all the Q people actually cared about that, something would probably happen and change. But because all the Q people are obsessed with the PSYOP to think that it's secretly in control and their whole world's going to be saved by like this James Bond theory of the military saving, that's not how it works. The military takes orders from the top dog. The top dog is put there by somebody, whether it's Trump or Biden or somebody over or under them. That's how the military works. Our military wasn't in control when they went to Afghanistan and Iraq. Somebody told them to go there. Our military wasn't in control when World War II happened. Someone told them to go there. That's how our military works. They have a leader and they tell the troops and they tell those troops, and there's that person telling that person. And then eventually our troops go and do what they're told to do. That's literally how the military works. It's not like the white hat plan where they're going to save the whole world. Like that's like a stupid sci-fi movie that the Q people are creating for Q followers. So they never actually do anything. And it's sad because they feed them half truths, get them sucked in, and it becomes this hope fantasy. It's like when I read Harry Potter, I thought I was Harry Potter. Seriously, I got so into the book. Hermione, he's kissing Chi Chang. I don't remember this Asian chick in the book. I forget her name. I apologize. But she's supposed to be super hot. I'm thinking I'm in the book. I'm like 14 years old. I think I'm Harry Potter. I'm out here beating Draco Malfoy. I'm in the Chamber of Secrets. I'm the prisoner of Azkaban. Like I straight up thought I was Harry Potter because the book was so fire. You know what I'm saying? So That's like the Q thing. It's like they got people, they think they're part of this big game. They're like, dude, the military and Trump's going to save the world. It's like, no, it's Harry Potter for adults, except I knew it was fake. People think it's actually real because they're using real life figures. Mike Pompeo, that was my favorite one. I have to bring it up again. It's so funny. Mike Pompeo was tweeting every 30 minutes, okay? And this is another one of 10,000 things they lied about. He's tweeting every 30 minutes. As somebody who worked in social media for 7 years, he's using Hootsuite or one of these scheduling things. So you could schedule posts on Twitter or Facebook for every 30 minutes, every hour, whatever you want, if that's what you want to do. So Mike Pompeo, you could tell he's leaving office because Trump didn't win, or he won, and whatever you want to say, whatever. But he was leaving office, and Mike Pompeo is just bragging about his accomplishments. You know, why is he bragging about his accomplishments? Because he's leaving office and he wants to let everybody know what a good job he did. So he's tweeting every 30 minutes, and you go under the comments, it's just festering with Q people who are like, oh my God, Mike Pompeo, he's giving us codes every 30 minutes. Now it's every 20 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 5 minutes, and then boom, we're going to save. Trump's going to be in the White House because Pompeo's tweeting every 30 minutes with codes. And I'm thinking about, he's tweeting like, I helped Israel. I fought Iran. I fought China. I did this. I got along with Kim Jong-un. He's just tweeting like generic accomplishments of what he wanted people to see from his legacy. Nothing wrong with that. I totally understand. But they're like, dude, you don't understand, man. You don't understand. I read the plan, man. My name's Dan, man. The QAnon plan, man. I got a fan, man. And the fan man in the back of the one-man bandstand. He's like, he's every 30 minutes, think about it. 3003. Every 30 minutes, there's a drop, a Q drop. And I'm like, dude, he's just tweeting on a Hootsuite account or something, bro. And they're like, no, it means Trump's going to be in the White House forever. He's going to be there, and Barron Trump's going to be there, and he's going to grow taller, and he's going to lash out against Big Pharma. And you're like, dude, it's just Hootsuite. It's just a tweet scheduler. He's just bragging about his accomplishments. No, he's going to save the world from a Twitter account. They couldn't cope with the fact that Mike Pompeo is not doing anything but tweeting. Like, they're so cringy. They think they're superheroes saving the world by literally lying about everything the Trump administration is doing, at every time filling half truths and like acting like they're in a Harry Potter movie. These are the most cringy conservatives ever now. And it sucks because human trafficking is literally real, and they're making a mockery of it by just acting so stupid about everything else. Stick to the human trafficking and actually research it and start an organization. Don't use human trafficking to lure people in and then get them running circles around Mike Pompeo's Twitter account. It's like, bro, stop these people. There's this one guy, Vincent Kennedy, on Twitter. I said debate me, but he never showed his face or whatever. So he's like, I'll text debate you. And I'm debating about Operation Warp Speed. He's lying about Operation Warp Speed. And I was like questioning him. I'm like, bro, you're a grown man, or maybe you pretend to be a grown man. I'm like, why are you lying so much? Like, he's got all these mothers under his comments, and they're like, I haven't had a job in weeks. I hope you're right, Vincent, or else I'm going to be depressed. Like, these people are literally going to be like suicidal and depressed because he built up this big story that's not true. And I'm like, dude, do you read your comments? Like, these people are seriously like mentally ill. Like, they were like literally losing their mind because he made all these lies. And he told me, he's like, Trump has to be in the White House. If Trump's not in the White House, then we're screwed. And that's when they show you their real agenda. He knows that he might be lying, but he's such a weak, cowardly little man boy hiding behind an anonymous, face that he never shows his face, that he's telling you he's such a coward that his idea is either Trump saves the world or we're screwed. That doesn't mean he's an honest guy. That doesn't mean he's a tough guy. It means he's a cowardly, pathetic man who's misleading a bunch of 50-year-old MAGA moms into like depression because he's too cowardly to admit that maybe someone else will have to run for president eventually. Maybe the buck doesn't stop at Trump, and that's okay. He finally admitted it's a true agenda. I have to tell people this because if it's not true, we're screwed. If Trump doesn't save my life, who will? You are such a loser, Vincent Kennedy. And I don't know where he ran. Probably ran to Gab or something. He's like, oh, man, Twitter's getting really crazy, man. The agents are after me, man. And I'm like, it's not an agent, bro. It's just you're a lot. These people are so cringe, And now I don't know what they're doing because I don't pay attention, but I've tuned in a few times and I'm like, they're still like the number 2, 1, 3, like top 4 videos on BitChute. And it's like, they're like, dude, the military, bro, let me tell you, man, like the military, one day they're just going to save you. It's like, that's literally not going to happen. Like maybe the military will go to war and fight a war for America. Like that is what they do. And I appreciate it when they do a good job, but it's like, they're not going to like domestically, like the military's in control, like James Bond, like, dude, the military's running the country right now. It's the military, dude. They're going to do some crazy Joe Biden. Like literally no. Talk to people in the military. Like that's not how it happens. Like the politicians aren't running it. It's the military, dude. I mean, the military is going to be in control. The white hats, the good guys in the military are going to be in control. And there's going to be 2 constitutions, 1 president, Donald J. Trump in the White House in August, Joe Biden, green screen, fake White House, Trump, underground, deep underground military base with B.O.B. dropping a mixtape about Dome Earth, classic. He'll be back before 2022. I guarantee it. 5 months later. I never said that, dude. I never said that he was going to come back, dude. Dude, who are you working for? Are you working for Mossad? Dude, no. I never said he was going to come back. I said his back hurt because Trump worked so hard to carry the country on his shoulders, and now he needs a massage. That's all run the tape back. I never said that. I hated the lockdown. I loved the lockdown for 3 years, but after I realized I hated the lockdown. Dude, no, I knew it the whole time. It's not bad. Is that really Pharaoh? He said Nick Fuentes destroyed Jacob Wall. I did not know they debated, bro. I got to see that. That's an epic debate. If that's really Pharaoh, either way, I do want to see that. Fuentes and Jacob Wall. That's a fun one. I like the edgy debates. Someone said let them eat themselves. Yeah, I know. I like to make a joke about it. Like, I don't know. I think it's funny. If I don't make jokes, I just get annoyed, and I don't like to be mad or annoyed. So I'm not mad. I'm not angry about it anymore. I literally just think it's really funny. So I'm not like pissed, or I'm not going to fight it. Like, you get what I'm saying? Joke, make a joke, make a thing, keep it moving. Someone said, dude, the military is 1 step away from replacing the American flag on their arm with a rainbow flag and a white. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what's really happening to the military. That's why it's such a psyop to be like, dude, the military is going to save you. It's like, dude, they're putting rainbow flags at the embassy. Like the military is not, and it's not the military members. Don't get me wrong. It's like when you talk about Israel, they're like, you hate everybody. No, I'm just talking about geopolitics. I like people in the military. It's the leadership, whoever's running in Washington, it's like they're adding like Black Lives Matter rainbow flags to it's like, that's what they're literally not even in control of themselves, let alone the whole country. How do I'm not mad at it, but how do they keep perpetuating this lie? And how do people keep believing them? I seriously can't. I guess it's because it's exciting. You know what I'm saying? It's like a fun theory. When things are going bad, it's more fun to just figure out something good. Like, if I came and I was like, listen, guys, I got some good news. Remember the aliens we talked about? Well, they're coming back. They're in Antarctica. They're building Space Force. And once they build Space Force, they're going to fly to the White House, and conservatives are going to be in control for 1,000 years. Everyone would be like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Like, I guess it's more fun to just make up like a theory where it's like, dude, Don Jr., Ivanka Trump, Barron Trump is going to grow 15 feet tall. He's going to stand on the first floor of the White House, look out of the second floor of the White House, and he's going to yell, QAnon. And then Nikola Tesla will come back. And then free energy, y'all, forever. The end. And everyone's like, mic drop. And everyone's like, holy shit, I love this account. I get it though, because I don't do this with politics, but it is like Dungeons and Dragons. I do this with crypto. I have to admit, I'm a crypto with a Q in the middle. I'm a QAnon crypto supporter. I watch crypto people who tell me what I want to hear. If I buy a crypto, I want to hear that it's going to go up. You know, I'm like a fake crypto listener. Like, I don't want to hear the guy, hey, I think VeChain is going to go down. I want to hear the guy that's like, dude, VeChain's going to $3, $5. Dude, I'm going to say $1,000 VeChain. And I'm like, now this guy has some credibility. You know, they're like, Bitcoin, you own a Bitcoin? I'm like, I might have a Bitcoin. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. And they're like, dude, Bitcoin's going through the roof. Bitcoin, it might hit $1 trillion. I'm like, holy, I'm going to be $1 trillion. Now, I don't have a Bitcoin right now. I have some other coins, but you know, I do the same thing with crypto that QAnon people do with politics. I just watch people, but the difference is I know that I'm doing it. So if someone comes along and tells me like, yo, anomaly, like that's going to crash and go to zero, I don't freak out. I'm like, you don't understand the blockchain. I just say, nah, you might be right. It might go to zero, but I just want to hear this guy. It's like some random guy with a laptop with 500 views just talking about how my crappy coin's going to go to like $1 trillion. I'm like, now this guy is the Kramer of the cryptos. Okay. Garrett said, do you think that regardless of Trump in office or not, that the Great Awakening is happening? I feel like Logos is rising. A lot of people are waking up, Q or not, maybe God's plan. I do, Garrett. That's a good, because I got to go soon. I'm like filibustering, but yeah, I do feel like Logos is rising. The pendulum is swinging, and I go tough at conservatives because I know a lot of people follow me, campaign managers, like people that are really high up in the Republican base. I feel like they're watching. So I'm just trying to shift the culture within, and I'm not even in politics, but it's like, I know people are listening. I know they're learning. I go hard, not with a black pill, like we're all doomed. Sometimes I'll throw out something just to, like, if you're down and you're like, dude, we're going to lose. I say it just to get people hyped up. I'm not going to lose. And I'm like, that's damn right. We're not going to lose. So yeah, I think a lot of great things are happening. I think the Great Awakening is happening in the sense of, for sure, the pendulum swinging. More people than ever are for sure learning about this stuff. People that never did in their whole life have switched. And I think that without all this crazy lockdown stuff, the left is going to destroy themselves because, you know, I think this is a good take from Cernovich, Mike Cernovich on Twitter. He said, you know, I'm teaching my daughters to be strong. Like, he's not pumping critical race theory into his kids. He's teaching them to be strong, independent. And he said in 10 years, my kids are going to have superpowers compared to these other liberal kids. So you could look at it like that. The next generation of kids, if you're raising your kids properly, they're going to have a huge advantage against all these other weak kids. You know, you could be negative and be like, they're screwing it up. But if you create your own world and be like, hey, I see it as in 10, 20 years, you know, my kids and my kids' kids, they're going to dominate because they're going to be way stronger. So I think for sure there's an awakening happening. Logos is rising, and you know, I'm ready for some wins. Honestly, it's been a weird year. I had a lot of wins last year personally, but the lockdown sucked. I broke my finger. This has been annoying. So, you know, things change, and there's been good and bad, but I feel like we're due for some wins here in America. And I honestly think if they could get a fair election in 2022, I really think Republicans can landslide locally. I'm already seeing it. And that's what I want to do. I know Republicans can win, but I don't want them to win and lose. I want to win and win. So once they get in, I'm kind of pushing back. And I don't know if that actually was Young Pharaoh or not who commented, but you know, someone said the Nick Fuentes, Jacob Wohl debate. I'll check that out. But in general, I think the future of the conservative movement, or at least, you know, I think it's okay to challenge the base, you know, from any angle and get them to try to, you know, actually do what they say they're going to do. So that's what I'm thinking. I am optimistic. I am positive, and I don't want it to get misconstrued because I go hard sometimes, and I don't want to seem like a complainer, but I'm more amped up because I see it happening, and there's so many people who just say certain things, and I can only say things that interest me, and I think it's fun to, you know, to take angles that might not be more popular. So yeah, I'm very optimistic. Sonny said, tell me right now how he feels comforted being by the military, being in control. This ain't your grandpa's Marines, my friends. They should have all had peeps turning the QAnon crap off. Read the FEMA camps. Well, read the FEMA. Here's the thing, Sonny. There's this one guy, Simon Parks. I could play the clip if I could find it. He's telling people the FEMA camps are for the bad guys. Like, how do people not realize this is a psyop? My whole life, I'm trying to find the book. It's probably in my room. Behold a Pale Horse by Bill Cooper. He was warning for 30, 40 years that they were going to do an emergency lockdown. And this was written for 40 years. All these libertarians, he used the word patriot, patriot, patriot. Patriot wasn't a Q word. It's an American word. It's cool that they use it, but they try to take a monopoly on patriots, patriots. Like, so Bill Cooper said that too. And he was talking about lockdown. So the point I'm getting to is with the FEMA thing, Simon Parks of the QAnon, military's in control ilk, he's like, the FEMA camps they're building, they're not for the good guys. Don't worry, guys. They're for the bad guys. The bad guys are going to go to the FEMA camp. Joe Biden, we're going to put them in the FEMA. And they're all like Charlie Ward or something. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, bro, these military control guys are so dumb. Like, you're that easy to fool. Just some guy with crooked teeth comes on and says, the FEMA camps are for you. You think Joe Biden's going to go to a FEMA camp? Like, where did Jeffrey Epstein go? He didn't go to a FEMA camp. He went to a high security prison, which wasn't that secure at the end of the day. But it's like, they're not out of facilities. Like, where should we put Joe Biden? I don't know, in a FEMA camp. It's like, bro, how in the world do people believe this guy? Simon Parks is like, dude, he's telling people that the FEMA camps are for the bad guy. It's seriously so sad to me that people actually buy that. But it's kind of funny though. It is funny in a way, but I don't know. In a way, it's not. Someone said, "Don't drag Dungeons and Dragons into this." Yeah, we got some D&Ders. All right, let's calm down. All right, I got it. I can't believe I lasted this long, but I think it's because I got some exercise today. I want to write my book, and I really do want to finish this race video before the morning. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I'm kind of beat. 4 hours. Holy crap! Excuse my language, but I did not mean to last that long. But can't complain. I really want to get this video done for tomorrow. I'm doing 2 new videos too for next week. I got some cool angles, and I'm going to talk about homelessness in Los Angeles, do a deep dive report on that. But all right, one comment. Let's leave on a good comment. We got to get a good comment. Something that feels like we're ending. Someone said lasting long is a good thing. Ha 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 ha. I got you. What's up, Alpha 45? Someone said real men don't get tired. All right, now I'm being roasted. 3 hours and 40 minutes. I can't believe this even happened. That was crazy. It's 9 o'clock. The day's over. What time did I start? Alpha 45 said anomaly is controlled psyop. Why do you think that? I'm obviously not, but Alpha, give me a reason. What are you mad at? Tell me. What part of what I said hurt your feelings? Let me see. Alpha 45, I'm going to give you the last. Alpha 45, I'm going to give you the last. You said I'm a controlled psyop. So what part of what I said bothered you? Show me on the doll what part of what I said. I want to let you have the floor because my chest looks like a baby butt. You must be a strong guy, Alpha 45. I mean, that's kind of funny, but it's also like, I don't know. People are picking on me now, and I can't even work out because my thumb is broken, and it's hard to actually lift stuff. I'm not supposed to lift anything with my hands. So, I mean, if that makes you feel like an Alpha 45, the only way to feel alpha is to make your name Alpha 45 and then pick on me when I literally haven't been able to work out in 3 weeks. Do what you got to do. But my guess is that there's not that much alpha going on, but it's okay. More like alfalfa. He said he's trolling. It's okay. We allow a good troll. You don't pass the troll toll. You can pass the troll toll. I'm not going to cry about it. Someone said you're burnt. We need you out there. Chillax. I'm not. Am I that burnt? I mean, I might be burnt by the sun, and I might be burnt because I've talked for 4 hours, but it's like, it's okay. Well, we can do it. Leg month. You're right. I should be doing leg month. All right. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Madeline. Thank you. All right. I'll say thank you to everybody. Who's the GOP president 2024? Only time will tell. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Anthony. I just want to thank you, Misha. Thank you, Taylin. Emily, thank you. Appreciate y'all for being here. And for anybody who's here, if you ever want to catch my streams live and you have Telegram, I have t.me/dreamrarechat or anomaly dream rare chat or dream rare chat, all one word or all two. I don't know. You should be able to find it on Telegram. I usually link it somewhere in the comments so you can find it on my page. That's where anytime I go live, if you want to catch it at the beginning, I post it 5 to 10 minutes before I go live. So I throw it up on Telegram. I think we have 36,000 people there or something. So if you ever want to catch the streams, that's how you do it. If you sign up to my email list, stayintouchwithme.com, I'm the least annoying email list ever because I barely use it because I find it annoying to get emails and I don't like to check emails. So those are 2 ways you can keep up. Obviously, subscribe, whatever. And also, if you ever want to join the conversation with your face, I know it's scary, but listen, I'm sure there's a lot of good faces out there. On my Instagram at DreamRare, DreamRare, I've been doing a lot of live streams on Instagram where it doesn't have as big of an audience a lot, but I do bring people in. And it's really cool because I brought in this chick. I mean, maybe she was 21, 22. She was talking about Q and how she kind of believed it, kind of didn't. And it was just cool to see perspectives from, you're not getting the top person who only speaks on behalf of their audience. You're getting people who are just, listeners and observers, and they're not into news or politics, telling their story. And it's been super dope. I've got a lot of cool perspectives, a lot of cool people doing something, people with big platforms, people with no platforms, people with, just doing their own thing in their real life, coming onto the stream, giving me their perspective, telling me what they think, saying nice things to me, sometimes disagreeing with me. We had one guy on there, the other, Dimitri, he came on and said, Anomaly, I'm going to challenge you. He ended up being really cool. And it's a good time. So if you ever want to join and get your face on, I do Instagram lives and I find them very fun. And I think it's a pretty cool thing going on there. So we'll keep it up. All right. Have a good one, guys. And that's all the links for today. Obviously the hats. If you want this, godblesshats.com. I'm working on new stuff, but I'm not going to say lazy because I'm not lazy, but this has been pissing me off. It's not that it hurts, but I'm just having trouble grabbing things and everything's taking longer. So I have new merch that I'm trying to get out there, but this is the godblesshats.com or dreamrare.com. We got the hats. We got the tank tops. They're still in stock. I'm going to do more cool stuff. I just feel like, I don't know. I don't like typing now. I'm trying to type and do emails and it's just annoying. So I'm just like putting it off, but you get it. You can get one if you want. If not, it's all good. Someone said God bless with the Q. God bless. Have a good one. All right. Take care, guys.